We are in the week of Hey Tevis. The Rebbe directed that when Hey Tevis comes around, it is incumbent upon each and every person to purchase and buy Svarim. This is the perfect time to get and to buy the set of Our Days published by the Rebbe. Our Days is a living, organized treasury of the Chabad calendar. In addition, it includes biographies of all of the 7 Rabbeim in the appropriate dates. It's not a coffee table set. It's something that you open, something that you learn, something that you return to. And purchasing this book is a fulfillment of the Rebbe's Hira to purchase Svarim and Hey Tevis. Many people mean to get it, they want to get it, but they keep pushing it off. Hey Tevis is the appropriate time. We only do one sale a year, and it's lasting only for 1 week. 20% off is the most you'll ever see. There isn't a bigger or better deal coming. This isn't a purchase for now, it's a purchase that will last for years. For your home, your Shabbos table, your kids, for your own learning. Go to derher.org/Our Days to purchase the set. No code necessary.
To have success with PR, in my opinion, was very difficult because you're going to television stations, you don't control, you have to fight for them to come, you have to fight for them to put on, then you have to make sure that the content that they used is accurate and the things that they say, editorialize, is accurate, I thought to myself then, why do I have to use their channels? Why do we have to, channel them and go through them? Let's start our own network in a way.
If you've been enjoying this podcast, please like and subscribe so that others can enjoy it as well. In addition, if you've benefited in any way from Among Chassidim podcast and would like to give something back, you can do so today at derher.org/donate. I'm Yassi Kamen. Welcome to Among Chassidim by Derher, an ongoing farbrengen about life as a chassid, our vibrant connection with the Rebbe, and inspired living shaped by the way he teaches us each and every day. This episode is dedicated to Nishmas Harav Sadia ben Rav Mordechai Olav Shalom Dahan and the Refuah Shlema for Chana Bas Nechama Dina by Shaul and Shendi Dahan. Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi Krinsky, how are you?
Baruch Hashem, Aleichem Shalom.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here. And there's a lot that I want to talk to you about. There's Gem and Chanukah Live and answers from the Rebbe and a lot of rich inyanim in that. But first and foremost, before we get into all of that, you're obviously the son of Rabbi Krinsky, the Rebbe's Mazkir, and you grew up, I guess, in the shadow of the Rebbe and Mazkiris and all of that. And what was that like? I can imagine that, what was that like?
So obviously it was a big schos. We appreciated every moment of it. It came with responsibilities. And one of the things that's come to mind is being told very often is, in case you see something, you hear something, you have to keep your mouth shut. Literally, not allowed to talk, you're not allowed to say anything. And that was because there were a lot of private, personal things that really went on between the Rebbe and the Olam, and things people had bakashas that they asked the Rebbe. There were things that had a lot to do with Askonis, but there were things that were not made for public. So, and it was inevitable that even if I was home, back then there were no cell phones. People used to call the house phone. And there wasn't really privacy back then. You didn't go and have a room with a private room that had a phone. I didn't have an office at home. So conversations happen, and you hear, everyone knows it can overhear, and kids can overhear too. And Father spent a lot of time on the phone, even at home, when he was home. He wasn't home very often. And then I used to want to see my father. I used to go to the office, in the office. I would come home from yeshiva and could sit there for hours, literally hours, 2 hours, whatever. He'd say, oh, now in a few minutes, we're going home, so whatever, something like that. Always took hours. But I can see that he was busy with things, and, you were able to You were able to hear things that were going on.
In those days, your father's office was in 788?
Okay, so he started off, my father's office started in Mazkir. I remember when he was sitting in the Mazkir. At that time, there was probably 4 or 5 Mazkirim sitting there, which was very, very tight. And also the Mazkir's office was like public. The door, for the most part, was usually open. People would come and write setlach, drop off setlach, and things like that. And there were only 2 phone lines. And for the most part, there were typewriters. They were using the typewriters, giving answers and writing letters and so on. And my father had a lot of tafkidim from the Rebbe, vis-a-vis Mazkiris and Americas, and also, of course, the Machne Yisrael and so on. And it got difficult for him to be working out of there because it was a hectic place. So this must have been, now that I remember him moving next door to the building in 784, it was obviously after they bought 784 and 788, building next door to 770.
I'm remembering that he was in the library at one point. That was afterwards?
The library was afterwards,
okay,
if my memory serves me correct. Okay. The library was afterwards. So when they bought the buildings next door to expand 770, it didn't happen right away. I don't think it happened right away. Now I'm talking about Tafshin Chaf Vav, I think it was, something like that. And maybe it didn't happen until Tafshin Chaf Zayin. They had to empty out people that were tenants in the building, and it took time. Even back then, it took time. They don't have the rules like they have now, the laws they have in New York. You can't get anybody out. Back then, you were able to, but it took time. As they emptied out the apartments upstairs, and the building became vacant, and I think it may become condemned because it was not in good condition. I remember that they... Now this is 784. 788 may have been a little different because it was the next building, and there may have been tenants in there still later on. And there were stores on Kingston Avenue. So that building got connected to the shul, even though it was bought at the same time, got connected 2 or 3 years later than that. So he went up to one of the apartments. It was an apartment where people had lived there. And the city had ordered to block up the entrance of the building. No one should go in. But they had a little trapdoor, 2x2 trapdoor over there on the bottom. And that's how he used to go up. He made his office upstairs on the 2nd floor in an apartment. And that's where he was able to work. He had his own phone. They put in phone lines there, 2 phone lines. And in fact, I think Rebbe had an office for Sefer Erchem up there as well. He was in the apartment next door. Right next door. The apartments were like next door to each other.
That's where his office was?
For Sefer Erchem.
Till all the years?
Who are you talking about now?
Rebbe.
This is like the 2nd floor, 1 flight up. This is 1 flight up.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that they had a hole in the wall between the 2 apartments, and there was a phone in between that was on a hinge. Like they used to move, one office to the other. I think my father had another extension on his desk over there. But my father worked there for many years upstairs in the apartment. He used to go inside to the office. He used to bend down, literally. He had to bend down to go in. Whoever wanted to see, he had to bend down to go through the little 2x2 trapdoor to go upstairs to the office. So he had the office there for a few years, and then when they started building, they made the Weibershul up there. I'm sure the Weibershul was above that floor. I think they became the Weibershul. And
with the Weibershul today, those were apartments originally? That was the first floor?
Yes, for sure. Those were those were apartments. Mm-hmm. I think the floors those are apartments, yeah. And but until they made the offices later on, it took a long time. And it was way after they did the shul downstairs. So even when the shul was downstairs extended already, the first slav of the extension, upstairs was still apartments.
Mm-hmm.
So he had his office there for a few years. Then later, when he bought the library, and he was involved with buying the library, it was Dr. Shapiro that was there, a dentist. He sold the library to Americas. I believe my father negotiated with him. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't, I don't think, that much money. It was a beautiful building, but it was not that much money. After they renovated there, after he had the library in there, he made an office in the back. He moved to the back. And then Label Grona had an office in the front.
In the library?
In the library, yeah.
So in the Mazkiris was basically Rabbi Klein.
Right.
Basically, that was his office. And Rabbi Chadikov always had his own office.
Rabbi Chadikov was a little bit in the front sometimes. He has an office in the back. when there used to be a Rabbi Quint that was there. And Rabbi Quint sat by the desk that was facing forward. The other desks are facing different directions. The one facing forward, towards the door, he sat there.
You remember him?
Oh yeah, very much. Yeah, Rabbi Quint, I remember him. Yeah, yes, indeed. He was like he was the bookkeeper. He used to write receipts. He used to give out answers, and I think he maybe went into the Rebbe a few times too. But he was. I don't think he wasn't considered a Mazkir.
But he does sign. His name is on the bottom of the letters.
It's okay. It's time to be corrected. On which letters in particular?
Different letters that either.
Really? Okay.
Like what the Rebbe did.
I never heard his name mentioned as a Mazkir, even though he was there.
Mm-hmm. What about the other Mazkiris like Moshe Leib or Moshe Leib Bratstein?
So Moshe Leib, I remember. Yes, I was a young kid when he passed away, but I do remember him. He was such a nice person. He was a wonderful person. He used to joke around a lot, even though people knew that he was tzubrochim because he didn't have any kids. But he didn't sit in the Mazkir's office in the front. He had his office in the back. Next door to Rabbi Chodakov's office was his office. And
where WLCC is.
Where WLCC is. And it was interesting because a lot of, back then he was an older person, but he was like more of the forward-thinking people of using, technology and whatever was around back then. He would try, and I remember everyone said how ironic it is that his room became WLCC. Uh-huh. So it was
appropriate.
It was appropriate, yes. And I remember as a kid, the Shabbos, I used to be in 770, he used to come around. He wore a langer rekel, I think, a whole week. He used to wear a long jacket. And he used to give, to me, he had these packaged wafers, 3 flavored wafers. He used to give them out. I just remember I used to look for Rabbi Rothstein to give out the wafers. That's my memory of him.
I think he was also, he took care of, Matziyam Kippur, like the
Suda?
The post fast cake or whatever. Him and his Rebbe, I think, would do that.
Yeah, so that I remember. I remember Moshe Groni used to do that, but that was in the America's office. Maybe Moshe took it over from Moshe Leib. His real name was Zusia. Yeah.
It says in the Matzeva Machune Moshe Leib.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was his last name really. Was it his last name? I'm not even sure it was his last name.
Could be not. I don't remember.
Anyway, he was called Moshe Leib. Yeah.
And
it was just a very nice, friendly, especially the kids used to come over and,
So all these stories that they wanted to buy the Rebbe a letter opener and the Rebbe refused those things, it was probably his ideas.
Could be.
Makes sense according to what you're saying, that he was into the technology.
Could be. That's what. Yeah. Could be.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
there's this famous story with him with the pencil. He came one time to take dictation with a pencil. He came with a very, very small pencil. And they made some comment or something about the size of his pencil. So then he came back the next week with a very big pencil. Yeah. He used to like to make the Rebbe laugh. He was, he did some other things that was just, he liked to make a bissel freilach. Even though B'pnimis he probably wasn't as freilach that he,
Right. So I guess in those years, there's other older chassidim that you remember that weren't around later, either in Mazkiris or not. That you mentioned Moshe Groner. That's something that's not talked about a lot, but apparently, I heard that there was a lot that he carried with him.
He had a very good memory. Yeah, he knew a lot of things, a lot of information. But I knew Moshe Groner for the most part on Shabbos. He used to come to the America's office. During the week, you didn't really see him, unless it was a Yom Pagra. But he sat in the America's office on Shabbos. When we came to Shul, we spent some time in the America's office. And it wasn't active at that time compared to what was going during the week. And we used to fabring with him, talk to him, and he had his stories and so on and so forth. Yeah. Interesting. In the America's office, the Mazkir's office, I don't remember this, but I've heard from my father. There were desks that they got then. They put desks that they got, I think, from what do they call it? I don't know if it was the Army Navy store. I don't know what it was. Those stores and the files came from places that they paid $10 for the desks.
What's the Army Navy? So like the war equipment?
I forgot what they had a name for it. I forgot the name, but they had where they sold off stuff that the Army used and they didn't need anymore. They sold it off. That's where they used to buy their furniture from. If you go into America's office, you'll still see some of the filing cabinets. You see how old they are. I remember them from over 50, 60 years ago. When they put them in, they must have been 50, 60 years old. Probably from before World War II. They decided to put a wall in front of the desk. And if again, it's there now, whoever's been to the America's office for the last tens of years, that wall is there 50 years at least. So my father says that the carpenter came to install the half wall over there. But the half wall they were putting in was 1 inch thick. And the Rebbe saw he was building, the Rebbe said, what happens if somebody comes in, wants to write a letter, wants to write something? So they made a top to it. It's been changed since then, but it's the same top. I think now 4 or 5 inches where someone can take a pen and paper and write a zettel or something on that little half wall. So that was his idea, to make sure people who come in have where to write a zettel.
It's very interesting, especially today, when we go to the aisle, and there's rooms, the tents that you can sit and you can write your zettel. It's interesting that it's a concept that the Rebbe initiated in the Mazkir's office, have a place to write something.
Yeah, and people would start getting people were coming and writing zettel constantly. Yeah. In addition, of course, to the mail that used to come every day.
Right. So were there some events that you had, like, you were privy to, seeing things up close because you're the son of a Mazkir? I'm thinking like Lamed Ches, like when the Rebbe had a heart attack. All of a sudden your father was involved in the thick and thin over there. Are there things from that time that you remember well?
Lamed Ches is like yesterday. No, you're kidding? Yeah.
How old are you, Lamed Ches?
19 years. Lamed Ches. Lamed Ches. 19 years old.
So what happened?
What happened? Everybody knows what happened to Lamed Ches, unfortunately. But my place by a office was all the way in the Mizrach wall, next to the Oren Kodesh. But higher up, Rabbi was below there, just below us, but he was on the floor. Label Shapiro was there, Nachman Shapiro, the other Shapiro boys were there. But I was higher up. I really got that place in a way because when they did the old shul, when the shalash became the shul, and then the shul was there, it was impossible to really get a place then. But then when they started the construction, the walls started coming down slowly. There were walls in the shul, but they were not closed up. They were like porous. There was like openings in the wall. So I remember when I was a little kid, I got a place. I was there maybe when they started that. 10 years old, 11 years old.
The late Chafs.
Yeah. So I got a place there. That was the only place you go because on the floor, everybody was a very small shul. It was very, even back then, it was packed already. We got a place, and then as they expanded the shul, then they went to the next phase of the shul. You can see downstairs, where the beams are, the big beams. So I was able to sort of keep that place. And when the shul went all the way to Kingston Avenue, I was able to, I stayed in that place. And it was also a good place because it was harder to see Hakafas, and you had to climb up higher to be able to see the Hakafa, the first and seventh Hakafa. But there was a lot of activity by Hakafas that went on between the first and seventh Hakafa, between the Ataresas. The Rebbe constantly turned around, said things to people, made comments or asked for things. So it was, that was a lot of action over there. And also between the second and the sixth Hakafa as well. And then, of course, Simchas Torah, the consulate, Israeli consulate came, and the Rebbe spent a lot of time with them. So you had a better view of what was happening. Anyway, so Shemini Atzeres Lamed Ches. We were there, and the shul, of course, was full. I think that Hakafa started then 9 or 10 o'clock. Hakafa started back in Lamed Ches. Was it time?
I think 9:30. Yeah, I think that's the time.
I think it was around 9. Anyway, I don't remember now, but it was so they, there were the races and the Hakafas and so on like normal. And then because I was standing by the Oren Kodesh, and we're looking at the Rebbe, I was able to see. I don't remember the third or fourth Hakafa when it happened. I remember the fourth Hakafa. I think it was the fourth Hakafa. I was able to tell before the Rebbe turned around that his face already changed, the color in his face. Because he was standing like by a white wall, and the Rebbe's face turned white or ashen, I don't know if, And before he turned around, we said something was wrong. We pointed out there was already something. Most people said they saw it as soon as they turned around. It happened when he was still facing Mizrach. But yet, when they were ready and he started singing, they turned around, but then you saw right away there was some pain and he was very uncomfortable. It was very obvious. And then, he sat down, which was very, very unusual. And then people realized that something was wrong, and then people started screaming in shul, everybody get out of shul, need air, and then they started breaking the windows in the Weiber shul. I'm not sure why they did that. They thought there would be more air if they break cold. They broke the windows in the Weiber shul, and almost everybody went out. I didn't go out. I'm not sure if it was the right thing to do or not, but I stayed there. And then the Rebbe continued the few hakafos, and he walked out of the shul on his own, but walked out slowly. And obviously you can see he was in pain. The Rebbe went to his room for a while, and exactly those first half hour, 40 minutes, was hard to tell what was happening. There was doctors. I think Feldman was there at the time. Dr. Feldman was there. I don't remember who else was there. Who else was there in shul from the doctors, from the community? There may have been some other doctors, but they were not cardiologists.
There's a Dr. Glasman.
Could be.
I think I read that in one of the...
there was I think there may have been, and I'm not sure about, maybe it was Dr. Ackerman. Ackerman may have been there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. And then, they went to search to bring doctors and so on. Whoever knew some doctors tried to call a cardiologist. I guess they knew right away that it was related to the heart. And then, so after a little while, they wanted to, of course, Dr. Zelickson. Dr. Zelickson was there, of course, yeah. After a little while, they wanted Rebbe to eat something. And I remember Dr. Zelickson felt Rebbe should have some sugar, some sugar cubes or whatever, something to drink that contained sugar. And the Rebbe said he wouldn't eat anything before he made Kiddush. And even though it was Shemini Atzeres, the Rebbe said he has to go to the sukkah in those conditions, imagine. So I remember the Rebbe walking to the sukkah. I stood outside the front door 770, so I was able to see what was going on. And the door of the sukkah, for the most part, was open. Another thing, before the Rebbe went to the sukkah, I saw the Rebbetzin come down from the 770 sukkah in front of between the America's office and the Rebbe's sukkah. She came walking with chesed to 770. So I can't even imagine how she made it through that sukkah, but it looks like Shemini Atzeres, that sukkah, benches and tables and what the places. Anyway,
she came in from Union Street.
She came from Union Street and walked through the sukkah. I remember seeing her walk through the sukkah. She walked to the sukkah, and she went into the Rebbe's room. So later the Rebbe had come out and went to the sukkah. I think she came out again when the Rebbe was in the sukkah. And the Rebbe made Kiddush. She may have been there for Kiddush. I don't remember. I think she may have been there for Kiddush, because I think there was the Rebbe said he has to make Kiddush for the Rebbe. She may have been there for Kiddush. And I think maybe they went there to have chocolate. I think Zelickson was prescribing and so on. After, I don't remember how long there was in the sukkah, maybe it was 15, 20 minutes, something like that. He went back to his room. And while there was in the sukkah, I remember hearing that they brought down the bed, the Friedrich Rebbe's room upstairs. I don't know if it was the Friedrich Rebbe's bed, or not exactly his bed, or maybe there was one. I'm not sure. I always knew it as it was they brought the Friedrich Rebbe's bed. They were still bringing doctors, and I still remember the scene when the doctor said that the Rebbe has to go to the hospital, and the Rebbe refused.
You were there?
I was in America's office. The door was open to the America's office. They had like a stopper they used to put in, because the times they used to keep it open. The Rebbe used to be in his room and go home, so they used to keep the door open so you can see when the Rebbe walked out of his office. The Rebbe always notified him going home. He didn't do that. He had to be there. That's a different story. So that door was open. Back then too, Garei Natachten was not the way it is now. It wasn't locked. It wasn't off limits for people. We were kids. We used to play there. Shabbos is played, and on the stairs and the handrail going upstairs is where people put their coats. There weren't hangers anywhere to put coats. That's where people put the coats. So it was I don't want to say it was the Hegdish, but it was anyway. So everything was open over there then. There weren't doors. There weren't even. I don't even think there was a lock on the 770 door, and not to the door to the hallway, or even to the zal. So the door was open, so I was able to see what was going on. All the doors were open. Even though, the front door was technically somebody stood there, he couldn't go in unless someone, they didn't let everybody in. But I was in, and I remember the scene of the doctors walking out. Like I think it was 4 doctors at one point, just walked out and said, if he's not going to the hospital, we're like out of here, we can't take responsibility and so on. At that point, they realized they have to get equipment from the doctors who was there managing it. I don't know. I don't remember who was there. Maybe some Atzola was there. I'm not sure. Maybe Stritsky was there. Label Stritsky. I remember who was trying to coordinate things. And there was Dr. Richter was there. Dr. Richter was there. He was there, and he decided they have to start getting equipment, EKG machines and things like that. So I remember that I went with, there used to be, he was a Bocher then, Greenspan. He used to work with Chaim Baruch and WLCC. So he took an ambulance, and Dr. Richter, and they asked me to come along. I don't know why, but they needed, just in case they need extra hands. We went to a local hospital there, and Richter went inside, got equipment that he needed. And
Dr. Richter lived in Crown Heights?
No, he didn't live in Crown Heights.
He was visiting.
He was visiting then. He was related to the Lieberman family. I think his wife was a Lieberman. They were very close with the Rebbetzin. How come you said maybe they called him? Maybe they had called him. Maybe he wasn't there for Shmini Atzeres and he came. It's possible. Possible that he came then that night. It's possible that he came that time. I don't know if he was there anyway for a coffee. And like I said, we ran there with the ambulance, came back, and they brought the equipment in. I think then others went to other places. The Stritskis went to other places to collect equipment, whatever they needed, and they coordinated. And they set up a temporary clinic, whatever you want to call it, that they would, and obviously it didn't all happen within hours, but that's what they basically did.
Right, and there's a famous story that the Rebbetzin told your father.
I was there. I was present when that happened. So this was probably maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30, maybe between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning.
The doctors left.
The doctors left, and then around 3, 4 o'clock, something happened. I remember something happened. They didn't say, but something happened worse.
Another
heart attack, yeah. I remember they said it was worse. And it was very quiet. And in the... Like I said, I was in the Mazkir's office. The lights were off. They had the one bulb that Rabbi Charakov had on for Shabbos. There's this one bulb, and they still do that. There's one bulb, so it's dark. And the door to Gan Tachton was open. And at that point, even the Rebbe's room, the door was open and closed open. I was standing there like, my father's on the other side of this wall that I described earlier. He was on the other side there. And I was standing facing my father, my back to Eastern Parkway. And like I said, it's quiet, and all of a sudden I hear footsteps. I can hear, it's a woman walking. And the Rebbe comes in. Again, I wouldn't forget these words. And she says, Rabbi Krinsky, ik kent toch als heel veel mensen. Eerst je kent je vinden dokter van mijn man. I remember those words. And and I think
Rabbi
about
Krinsky,
it
you know so many people.
Maybe you can find a doctor for my husband. Now when I think about it, I don't know why when I saw Rebbetzin walked in, why didn't I walk out? I don't know why I didn't walk out. I'm just like stood there, and no one told me to walk out, and I was there. And then they talked a few minutes, which I don't remember but I just remember this line. This line remained in my head. And I think as Rebbetzin walked out, my father turned to me and says, you know what? Dr. Weiss, there's the Dr. Weiss, he's a cardiologist. He had sent something to the Rebbe not long ago. I know he's close to my father's brother-in-law, Herschel Schuster, who was my uncle. He was a Mekurev of his. He knew somewhat vague information about him. And he said, you know what? He had a feeling. He said, let me call him. So again, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, maybe I'm off by a half hour, I don't know, I'm just... he called, he had Hershel Schusterman's phone number in Chicago, and Ira Weiss lived in Chicago, and he had an office then at the time, and we called Hershel Schusterman's house. Obviously, he didn't pick up the phone right away, and then called insistently and let it ring and ring and ring and ring and ring and ring, and then hung up and called again until they realized it's something important. They answered the phone, and I don't know if my father asked him for Dr. Weiss's number, or he asked him to call. I remember who made the first call. He may have. Anyway, they made contact with Dr. Weiss. And right away he said he'll be, take the next flight out. And at that point he didn't really have any yachas with the Rebbe before. They just probably knew of the Rebbe and so on, but it wasn't like he has been to the Rebbe or anything. But he was like, I'll get on the plane. I think he said he had a 7 o'clock flight to New York, which already in New York was 8 o'clock. We were there an hour behind. And then he said, till I get there, because even it's not a long flight, he said, I'll call Dr. Tischoltz, which I think at the time was on Mount Sinai, and he was the head of they were big cardiologists, and I'll make sure that he gets it up, in the meantime, at least to take control, make sure things are stable, and so on. So, that's what he did, and Dr. Tischoltz came. I don't remember what time he came, but I don't think he came much before 10 o'clock or something like that. I don't think he got there much before Ira Weiss. They arranged a police escort from LaGuardia Airport. Ira Weiss landed in LaGuardia. There was a police escort, and they brought him to 770. And he went immediately into the Rebbe's room. And I must say, probably from that moment, things changed, of course, dramatically. And I think immediately the Rebbe and him had a connection, felt a connection right away. I mean, the Rebbe was very comfortable with him because he understood the Rebbe, even though he wasn't a chassid, but he understood. When the Rebbe said he's staying here, he's like, it's the right thing.
I think he explained medically it makes sense.
Yeah, he explained, that was important for him to stay. He was right on the ball right away. And as soon as the Rebbe met him, I think she was comfortable immediately. Immediately. They realized that his character was such that they felt very comfortable. And probably from that day on, he spoke to Rebbe every single day till Chav B'Shvat. He called her every single day to find out how she is and so on. They became very close. That was a turning point. There's no question that was a turning point. Yeah.
So that was really the first time that you had such an up close, involvement or window into what was happening.
I don't know if it was the first time, but it was definitely a very crucial period of time. That yes, I saw that. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, also the nature of the Mazkiris kind of changed at that moment.
For sure.
I mean, till then you were working for the Rebbe. Then here it's all of a sudden you have, to help the Rebbe. I'm saying it's a different type of.
Yeah, it was only a small period of time that nature changed.
Right, I'm saying, but it's something that didn't happen before.
It definitely didn't happen before. And being involved with doctors, and Dr. Weiss being by the Fabranians or by Yakov's or whatever, and checking the Rebbe. I mean, those was old news. It was not easy, new stuff. It wasn't easy to necessarily watch. It wasn't like something that made people feel comfortable with and so on.
Right. You mentioned the Rebbitzin. Did you have interactions with the Rebbitzin over the years?
Yeah, I did actually. Yes, I did. I don't remember how it started. I don't remember how the first time, and again, that was because my father had a lot of interactions with the Rebbitzin on various things. The thing that I remember as far as him interacting with her was when he did the library. And I don't know whose idea this was. I don't know if it was Rebbitzин's idea or his idea. I'm not sure where it came from. The idea of the library was my father's idea. I believe the Rebbe's library was my father's idea.
To buy the building?
To buy the building and make a library.
What do you mean?
I said, why are you making why a library? Why are you buying a building and making a library for? I mean, which is fine, but why? It was like so. It was very interesting to me why he would make a library there, because there was no svarim. The Rebbe had his room, and if he wanted some things, he was to go through Chaim Lieber and get downstairs from the
yeah,
but it wasn't a constant, not that I know of. But to start collecting svarim, it's not like there was there wasn't a svarim. Then there was there's a room here. This Rebbe has a svarim here. Let's put it into a library. No, he started from scratch. Started from scratch after he bought the building. He had a building, then he started collecting svarim. So I remember I asked my father. I said, presidents have presidential libraries. You need to have a library. I don't know if you said it was a thing that kings or had libraries. It's a thing. You need to have a library. So he started, and I was like, my father spent hours there, hours, many hours a day setting it up. He started by himself. The boxes, he made some calls from people that had svarim. Other people heard there's a library. My mother had a friend that this woman, my mother's friend, either her parents or the in-laws somewhere in that immediate family had a big collection of svarim. They came to my father and said, we have this collection. You want to pick up svarim, whatever. And my father didn't make much of it at first, what they have there. And it turned out it was a treasure trove of stuff that became a big part of the library. And then they collected more and more. It started little by little, and people sent, and people, some people were active in bringing svarim. So they built up the library. Anyway, at one point, I remember the shop, they put in the shafis there that they, I haven't been in the library many years now, so I don't know, but I think they're still there. That shafis that are like, you can turn a wheel and you move over, and they put special weight on the floor to carry all the books and so on. But the second floor was not used for the library back then. Again, now I think they do use it for the library. Back then they didn't. Again, I don't know who came up with this idea about making a room for the Rebbe there for Yechidus.
On the second floor.
On the second floor. Or they collaborated on this, the Rebbe and my father. Anyway. But the Rebbe wanted to be involved, or was involved, because I think she was pushing it. I never asked my father who initiated it. I remember that she wanted to pick out the carpet she wanted to have there, and she wanted to pick out the desk and everything, and it was with a chair. From what I understand, later on, after it was finished, I think the Rebbe wanted, I don't know who asked the Rebbe about having Yechidus up there, and the Rebbe wasn't Mazkir. But it's funny, the Rebbe did the project, and yet I do think that there was a time that the Rebbe went upstairs for something, for a few minutes. I don't know what it was. I don't remember right now what it was, but I think they went up there and spent a few minutes there for something.
In that room?
I think in that room. There was a time that they moved, or Rebbe used to send after Beis Nissen, after they used to bake matzahs and send to Eretz Yisrael. I remember in Tov Shemem Aleph, and maybe it was after that as well. Why it was moved to the library, I don't know. They used to bring all the boxes, the matzahs, and we used to go to take chal and then send off the boxes on a flight to Israel. Somewhere in my mind, I think I remember that at one point there were boxes upstairs in that room.
Later the Rebbe did that in Gereden Tachten, that whole process.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember suddenly it went to the library and went for maybe a few times, and then it went back again in a Tachten. I don't know where it started. Maybe because it became more matzahs possible. I don't know. Maybe it was too much already to put downstairs, so they brought it.
So I asked you about your interactions with the Rebbetzin.
Yeah. So I tried to remember how it started. I don't remember. I think that perhaps the Rebbetzin had her own car, and she used to drive. And I think what happened was maybe the car had to go to the mechanic or something like that. I remember taking the car to the mechanic, but I don't remember if that was the first time. So she called up and said, someone take the car to the mechanic and pick it up. So I don't know if she asked me, my father asked me, I don't remember where it started. So I said, yeah, I'll take it. I had a license ready. So picked up the car, dropped it off the mechanic, went, when they said it was ready, picked it up and brought it back to Rebbetzin. I think I brought her the keys to the car and said it was taken care of. And again, don't hold me exactly, but I think somewhere along those lines at that point, I got a call once in a while for something that she wanted that we should take care of and needed taken care of. But maybe it could be things she didn't want to bother my father for. So she
would call you?
She used to call the office, yeah.
She would call the office and ask to speak to you?
Yeah.
That you weren't in the office?
I was more or less in the office. I wasn't technically working in the office, but we were there. That was our life. That's what we were. And the office was our home. It wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't no, we were there. We were there in the office completely. And when I was a kid, I used to come home from Cheder, from Yeshiva. First I was in Olater, and then I was in Bedford and Dean. From Bedford and Dean, went straight to 770. Get off the bus in the corner, and the city bus, and went to 770. I was probably 8, 9 years old, probably every single Ma'ariv at 6:45 or 7 o'clock that I had.
You were there every Ma'ariv?
Probably, yeah, every Ma'ariv, yeah. Used to be there. If we had a half a day yeshiva, if the yeshiva was for some yom of the Pag, it was half a day. We were in 770. We didn't go home. Yeah, it was maybe in the summertime. I remember we used to play in the street a little bit, But after we played in the street, I went to 770. I had a bicycle, went to 770. Went always to 770 every single day. Every single day. So yeah, so like the office and all that, it was like, yeah, that was our life, no question about it. But we started, and the Rebbe was interesting. I think it was maybe Tafshem Mem, I think it was. Again, I could be off 6 months, maybe it was the end of Lamed Tes, beginning of Mem Aleph. It was around Tafshem Mem. I get a call in the office, so the Rebbe asks me to call her, and she tells me, she starts telling me the way, I said, Reb Chaim Lieberman, fühlt nicht gut, darf gehen ins Spital. Und hat bei uns ein Ben Bias. I remember she said, it's bei uns ein Ben Bias. Und ich wollte gewollt, als man soll sein mit dem die ganze Zeit, soll sein mit dem die ganze Zeit. So she said basically that, she said, as you know, the Reb Chaim Lieberman, he's not well.
The Friedrich Rebbe's Mazkir.
He's a Friedrich Rebbe's Mazkir. And he needed to go for some procedure. I don't remember what the procedure was. But we want that somebody should be there 24 hours. In others, if you can make mishmeres, you can make turns of people staying there. He was in a hospital, I think it was in a hospital in Brooklyn. And if we can give reports like every day what's going on, what's happening with him. So of course Rebbetzin asked, of course he did it, and arranged Bochum to be there for him. And they used to follow up with her and say, not going to get too much in detail, or they said it has to be another week, another 5 days, 4 days. I don't think we got into any more detail than that.
You would call?
Huh?
On the phone?
On the phone, yeah. So that was with Chaim Lieberman. That was the story then. So that was also started more of a yachas, so to speak. Later on, this is really already in the middle of the mems. The Rebbetzin fell, and she used to have problems with falling and breaking limbs, arms, her legs. She had this problem, very, very brittle, the bones. So actually, she broke her bones more than one time. And there's stories that everyone went to visit her in the hospital once or twice. She went, I remember, she was in joint diseases. And there was a doctor.
It's in Manhattan?
Manhattan, Beth Israel, it's part of Beth Israel, or later became part of Israel. They were next door to each other across the street.
Oh, right, okay.
And that's where they went to visit her once, joint disease.
I was in joint disease?
Yeah, I was in joint disease. I remember because my father drove the Rebbe there, and I remember we knew about it quietly. We followed him, so he was enjoying disease. After that, I think it was after that time. Yes, I believe it was after that time. And she broke a few limbs. And I think her doctor then was, it must be in the 70s, in the Lamets Oh, no. This is on the Memzer. I'm sorry. This one, the Mems. I'm sorry. In the Mems. There was a doctor, Howard Rosen, that was her doctor, and he recommended that she does therapy. And he said he knows a therapist that he thinks will be very good for the Rebbetzin. The only thing is, she wants to be picked up. She wants to be picked up. If someone should pick her up, bring her, and take her back home. So I was married and I had a car, and the Rebbetzin called me up and said, there's this woman, a therapist, her name was Gail. You know, can you pick up Gail? And a little bit be like the coordinator with Gail, because sometimes she was coming from work from the hospital, sometimes she was coming from a clinic, or she was coming from our house. And the timing, you know, she was, depending on when she had time available, she would come to the Rebbetzin. So you would just have to coordinate between the Rebbetzin and her, and you know, and also pick her up on time and bring her. So I did that, and that went on. I went on for a long time, many months. I don't remember if it was a year, but maybe it could be 8 months, 12 months. I don't remember how long it took, but she came. It was at least once a week. So you used to have to call the Rebbetzin and say, Gail can come and them tug, them sites, it's good for the Rebbetzin, things like that. And she, you know, most of the time she was available, because she couldn't really, at that time, it was hard for her to go anywhere. So that was another period of time that I think that when she came into the office that night, that I'd already had some interaction with her. Maybe that's why I felt comfortable to stay there. So.
I'm thinking that there were other people that in the house that helped, but it seems that the Rebbetzin didn't want to ask you to, you know, the medical things like that.
Oh, that with the picking her up.
With this coordination.
I don't know. I don't know. I think it was maybe because I don't know. I had a car. I don't know.
There were other people that could drive. I don't know.
I don't know. We didn't ask questions then. You know, you didn't ask questions. You do it, and yeah. Mm-hmm. After that, I mean, this going to a different period of time, but after the Svarim, after the start of the case with the Svarim,
I was going to ask you about the Svarim, the whole story.
Rebbetzin called office every single day. Every single day. And
during the court case?
Before the court case, everything, yeah. Even before the court case, yeah. She was calling every single day. And my father didn't have a secretary in the office. It wasn't like that. There were no secretaries back then in the office. So she called the phone, this 772-5995, had a lot of extensions, and we used to, you know, somewhere was there, was to pick up the phone. And usually we picked up before my father picked up, only so then, you know, just find out who it is, what it's about, if it's important, so on and so forth. We used to pick up the phone a lot of times. You can hear right away by the hello. She had a very distinct hello, very distinct, and you know right away it was her. And so she used to ask, you know, questions. She always wanted to speak to my father, but she was just, or if she knew it was me, she'd maybe say something, ask, and so on, you know. After my wife and I were engaged, after we got engaged, before we were married, we went to the Rebbetzin too. We went to the Rebbetzin, and we had a lot of conversations. I mean, even before that. She was, she was intrigued. She was, you know, but my wife was from Italy, Milan. She was like,
did your wife have a connection to the Rebbetzin?
Yeah, she did.
Before?
She did. Before? No.
Before that?
No, she didn't. No.
So
my wife has her own stories.
Your Schwerger Shmendley never was involved with the Rebbe's house?
No, he wouldn't go there. No, he wasn't. But she always wanted to know, you know, how my wife was doing, how she was able to transition from European and Europe and being American, even though my wife was more American than European at the time. She spent a lot of years in school here, but so.
She asked her that question?
She asked me, and she asked her. Yeah, she asked her.
When you were Chassan Kala?
I think she asked me when she was Chosn Kala, and then my wife had her own opportunities to go there, and she used to ask her, how she was doing and so on, So we went as Chosn Kala before we were married. I went to bring an invitation. For the Chasana. And later my son Chana was born, Chanchi, and my son Label. I think we were expecting our third child, so they went. My Shvart sent olive oil, Hanukkah, for the Rebbe to use. From Italy.
Italy.
Yeah, you know the whole story with where the oil was from, special pardes or whatever. And she asked that we bring it to Rebbetzin. We called Rebbetzin and said, we have oil. I said, Shemen Zayis for Hanukkah. If we can bring it. She said, sure. I said, I'm trying to think of, I'm sorry, I may not, it could be separate when I don't know if I brought the kids at that time or not, or it was another time where I brought the kids. And we had opportunities, a few opportunities that we went. So actually, my son Meir was born, my fifth child, fourth son, and he was born Shvat. A couple of weeks later, his bris was Yud Gimel. So about a few days later, she calls, and I answer the phone, and she tells me, and she asks me, "Was macht der Olam?" I was very puzzled, like, "Was macht der Olam?" It was either I said "Was mean the Rebbe." I wasn't sure if I asked her. She realized I was puzzled, so she says, "I mean the babies. We had 5 kids, and the youngest the oldest one was 4, and the other one, this one was born.
The oldest one was 4?
Oldest one was 4, and we had 5 kids, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so she called them the babies. I saw Baruch Hashem, the bris and so on and so forth. I think she already knew we had the bris. And unfortunately, a week later, it was Chav B'Shvat. That was the last time we spoke to her.
Oh.
It was difficult. Anyway.
A week before.
A
week before.
Yeah, a week before. And then, look, Chav B'Shvat changed everything. Whether we admit it or not, but it changed everything. It was difficult for the Rebbe as well. I mean, that was obvious.
Right. There was involvement that you had Chav B'Shvat?
What kind of involvement was there to be? I mean, well, the Chav B'Shvat and Chav B'Shvat, which is hard to think about, but when they had to go, when the Rebbe had to go to the hospital, so she, I think at first she didn't want to go. Again, I don't know what happened over there then. And obviously the Rebbe was home then, but they were home. But she said then that she wanted certain people to go with her. I don't remember the other people. I think Mrs. Turnbuck may have been one of them. I think so. But she said she'd only go if my father drives her to the hospital. So he came then. The other Mazkirs, nobody knew what was going on at the time. So he drove her. That was. But we found out fairly quickly before it was announced or anything. My father called us. We knew already. I forgot it was late at night. I don't remember what time it was. That was before anything started back in the Rebbe's house and so on. Well, that's a story for itself. But involvement was another thing. Involvement was a very sad day.
Yeah.
It was. So there were opportunities. We had conversations with Rebbetzin. Rebbetzin was different opportunities. What was interesting is talk about what it was like to be the son of a Mazkir and I was always very intrigued by this, that if you My father was Megiddo, but let's say, but he had a grandchild. Let's say if I had a child. So that a few days later, the Rebbe called office, he'd give Mazel Tov. You know what I mean?
Right.
So she heard either from the Rebbe or some that the Krinsky got an anicle. So she, sometimes even worked the other way around too. So
What do you mean the other way?
sometimes if we said something to the Rebbe, we'd get. It was a story my wife tells about. Tells that we were part of it. We brought a zettel to the Rebbe, and wanted to give a zettel to the Rebbe, and she was uncomfortable then giving it to the Mazkirs. So we brought it to called the Rebbe and asked if we can come over. One of the times, I don't think we said why we're coming over. Just want to, and she handed the zettel to the Rebbe.
To the Rebbe.
I'm sorry, to Rebbe, correct, yeah. And when she handed it, so the Rebbe was like, she sort of said, "Quick, just on the envelope." She said, like, "Had echt problem?" And like, that was her first.
Ihr had echt probleem?
Yeah, you have problems. Yeah, yeah. So my said, "No, but I brought him normal betting, you know." And the next day, we got back from the Rebbe. He handed my father a letter, the answer in the car, but the whole letter was not there. The letter wasn't there. And the Rebbe wrote just, "B'nai, he Dalit Kuf, or he Dalit Krinsky." I remember I have a bunch of copies of different ways that the Rebbe wrote on different setlach. And I think got the answer and the bracha and everything, was good. But so sometimes I say it went from the Rebbe to the Rebbe, and sometimes it went the other way around too.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay, I think we can talk about Gem, and by extension, we could talk about Hanukkah Live, which is obviously, it was a revolution in Lubavitch, but in the world, to have the Rebbe, broadcasted on cable television, and for sure Hanukkah Live with the simultaneous broadcasts all over the world. These things were revolutions. So 1 second, but I know your father started videos. So maybe I think that's probably how that's where it started. You want to talk about that.
I don't know if it was really connected in a way, but yes, in the Lamas, my father had this idea of recording the Farbrengens.
Right.
And he really wanted to record the Farbrengens to put in the library. In the library, had shelves over there that he designated to put the videos over there. And
it was for the archives.
For the archives.
For the presidential library.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was. The problem was it cost $500 to a recording. It also... Part of this also started at this period of time, for the most part, because the technology was not there before. It didn't exist before.
You had
film. You had film. You couldn't. Who took a film? I don't know. Maybe it took some. You didn't do films for hours. No one took a speech and went on for hours. You took minutes here and there, and you put it together, and so on. But to have technology that you can go on, have a tape that goes on for hours. It started with a video. This particular video that he had on the machine was like from the the early.
He hired someone.
Version, yeah. Just for record, we always hired people. We never did it ourselves. It was never done ourselves, anything. I mean, today I can't even take a picture with a camera, with a phone, so never mind taking videos. I had nothing, no. So we had a guy, I remember his name was Sam Adwar. He had a company, and they, and it was more like closed circuit type of cameras. But he used
I don't know what that means.
Closed circuit is CCTV, you see, there's all the security cameras you have today is technically like closed circuit cameras. It doesn't do it, just goes one circuit and it records it. It doesn't. Okay. So that had just come out. My father had the idea to call him he was a Jewish guy, a Yemenite. But he wanted $500 every time. So he used to come, and I was then before Bar Mitzvah, probably. I don't know. So he hired a guy, and funny, we sat in different places, but we sat in next door to the Friedrich Rebbe's library, across from where the Bia Chometz was. Mm-hmm. There was a room there that had a washer dryer, and
in the basement.
In the basement. And that room, I haven't been there since back then. That room really, the other side of the room was again 770. The shul is 770, the downstairs shul. Used to be, and again I don't know how it is now. If you came downstairs, the main stairs from where the zal is, the downstairs,
upstairs and downstairs.
Dumpsters to downstairs. There's a small landing.
Oh, there's a door.
There's a door over there. That door is that room. Was that
washer
room.
Dryer, right? Was
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I don't know if the washer dryer. I still have no idea.
I'm saying you can't even get in that door because
Can't get in there.
No, there's a railing.
Yeah, you can't get in there.
I actually think the door is the door there anymore.
I don't know. I don't know if the door's there anymore. I don't even think the door's there. But if you remember, that's pretty good. It was a long time ago. Yeah, the door's not there anymore. I'm not sure. I didn't check. I don't see.
I think they put tiles there. Yeah.
Could be they closed it up. But that's that room. So we had to set up put the wires in. But
you're saying you need the equipment for the video.
You used to record it in that room. What it was, there was no cameraman. As far as I remember, there was no cameraman.
But you're saying the cameras in one place.
You used to hang up a camera on one or two places.
And then the wires and the equipment.
And the wires had to go somewhere. Where are you going to put it then? There was no place to put it in 7.7. We did it over there. Mm-hmm. And the guys had there like a very primitive type of, I say primitive. I mean, today it's primitive, but then it was high tech. Had little buttons or whatever to make you go pan right, pan left, up, down, right, left. Tilt, up, down, right and left. That was the whole thing. And then zoom. And that's how we recorded it.
That's very high tech.
Yeah. We recorded, thank God. Baruch Hashem.
So your father did that a few times, but then...
Did more than a few times. It went on for a while. It went on for a long. All the videos you have from the Lamas.
Yeah, but and then he stopped. But in Mamalef, your father hired...
Yeah.
I think your father hired like a cameraman like the whole year or something.
No, that was already Jim. That was
you?
That was later, yeah. Then he stopped. Well, first of all, don't forget, stopped around maybe it stopped because of Shemini Atzeres Lamed Ches. Possibly that's why it stopped. I don't remember. I remember couldn't get even the $500 back then. It was hard. But it stopped. I think it stopped, and I don't think it came back after Lamed Ches.
Right, and Lamed Ches, there's no videos.
There's no videos. Yeah, because again, the Lamed Ches was already Motzei Shabbos, and then first it started off in the Rebbe's room. Yeah. It was different. It was a different time. It stopped.
So the whole gem thing. So how does that happen?
So the gem thing started. Tov Shin Yud Shvat Tov Shin Mem. Oh, so there's a little more background. It used to be you couldn't come with a camera and take pictures. Never mind a video camera. First, it wasn't video. People weren't walking around with video cameras back then. They weren't really in the 70s. That is. Okay, in the Lamed, maybe towards the end, maybe already video cameras. But people used to come and take pictures of the Rebbe. Sometimes they were in Bochum, Manash, or whatever, and the Rebbe did not cooperate with it, to say the least. He was, sometimes put something over his face, blocked his face, or whatever, and then somebody was going to ask him if he said Chitas today, and Tanya. And the Rebbe was very, best described as, did not cooperate or appreciate it, which was interesting. But one of the jobs my father had when he was hired for Mazkiris was PR, to do PR.
Your father says that when he was hired, that was... Your father says that when he was hired
for
Mazkiris, he was told that word in the beginning.
Right. I don't know if they said PR, public relations,
Yeah.
Yes, he was, yes. Amongst many other things that he had. He had a lot of jobs there. So if he wrote a note to somebody and said he's my, so if he wrote a note and signed it, that this person, this cameraman or this person taking pictures, has permission to be there, they want, like sometimes the Bachman would get
heated.
And then take away the camera, throw them out because they didn't appreciate it.
So he tried to sign note. He
had to show a note that he was Masha, that he approved it.
Right, over the years, your father brought different photographers to take pictures for various things.
Yeah, they were either for press or whatever it is. Yeah, absolutely. So before the guy gets hit over the head she said, here's my permit, my temporary permit.
Press pass.
Press pass wouldn't work. But he had to be more than a press pass. He had to sign it, which he did for individuals and so on. That then. So what happened was, and he used to try to bring, of course, the New York Times there and other newspapers there to come to cover Fabrengen and so on. and of course the television stations as well, to come to do a feature, And they came from time to time. They came, but usually, they came, and if you had on television, if you had 30 seconds, it was considered a lot. You barely got to a minute in most of the cases. Anyway, this is Yud Tav Shem Mem. And
Yud Hashem, there were press, and there was on TV, like clips.
Yeah, so there was Yud Tav Shem Mem, and I was coming down from the office upstairs. My father already went downstairs to his place by the Fabringen. And as I'm going downstairs, I see this crew shows up. I think it was from CBS. The crew shows up from CBS. And I started, taking care of them, helping them out, giving them information, getting them inside because you couldn't get in inside. And then I make sure someone, let them in to stand there. And then we took them from one side of the Fabring, and then we went to the back, behind the Rebbe, from the side. I think the guy's name was Kramer, the one who did it. I'm not sure. I think it was Kramer. Anyway, the next day, and before that, I was never involved with any of the press. I never did anything for them. That was, never interactive. Maybe something technical, but never had any shackles to them. And like I said, my father was by his place, by the Fabringen. Even though it was still minutes before the Rebbe came in. So we knew it was going to be on the next day. I think it was on the next day. If it was Yud Shvat, I remember the week it was on. The next day was on television. But just at that period of time, 1980, videotape started coming out where you had VCRs.
Like the VHS videos.
Yeah, exactly. But this will be the VHS was the Panasonic. There was another one called Betamax, which was Sony, I think. They were competing different formats. But I remember I went to Jim had a place on Kingston Avenue. Went and bought this machine. And, figured out how to try to put it on to record the news. And because in the past, when you tried to get something from them, if there was something on news, you tried to get it. It was very difficult. Either some things maybe weren't recorded, they archived. You couldn't get anything. One was on television was like we couldn't get anything.
So now that the VCR came out, there's the technology to record it live.
We recorded it live. So it was stuck on the news. We recorded it, and it turned out being like a magnificent piece.
I've seen it.
You've seen it. It's yeah. And I think it's 4 or 5 minutes. It was like very long. It was crazy how long it was. I kind of news it's for a half hour news, and then I had the thing on there before. I think it was 4 minutes. Now, do you remember?
Something like that. It was long.
It was long.
Yeah.
So, and again, we got it now. We recorded it. So my father tells the Rebbe that he says it was on the news. It was very good, and if the Rebbe wants, we have a recording of it. If the Rebbe wants to see it, and the Rebbe says, yeah, he'd like to see it, and my father made up for a day or two later in the week to see it. Okay, my father says, so I already had the VCR, and I got a stand to put it on. I just bought a monitor. I don't think we had them. We got a monitor, set it all up. I told my father, okay, take this cart, and just plug the, needs power, plug it into an outlet in the Rebbe's room, and then press play. I'll put it in, you just press play. Okay, do it. Comes a few minutes before, he tells me, I can't do it. Can't do it. I never say so. I can't do it. Now I can understand, when it comes down with the phones and the kids know how to do it.
You're saying now you can't do it.
No, I can't do it. No, I can't do it. Sorry, I can't press play anymore. Anyway, so now I can a little bit more relate to that. And he says, I can't do it. He says, you have to come in, you have to do it. And this was like 15, 20 minutes before. I'm not even sure at the time when he told me I was that even excited about doing it. I don't know. It was like scared. Even though I'd been to Rebbe for Yechidus for my bar mitzvah, my option. Yeah, this was before I got married. But it was...
You weren't coming to do Mazkir's type of, whatever, the dudes did the work in the Rebbe's room.
No. Even though I had a few stories around, no, not at all. Not even close, no. Anyway, so, okay. We made up a time, so he has to go in. All right, I'll go in. So push in the cart and put it on, plug it in the wall. and the Rebbe watches it. The whole thing is not enough, is a few minutes. And we try to keep it very discreet and so on. Came from the back, not from the front door.
I was going to, because
no, we didn't take it from no. So, finish, pull out the plug, and I leave the cart in Ganei Natach, and I go and stand in the Mazkir's office. I'm sure you've heard this story before.
I think it's printed in the head, but I don't have all the details.
It's hard to even with everything that really how I felt and what was going on. It's very hard to explain. So I'm in the Mazkir's office, standing there alone. Father comes in and he says, "The Rebbe asked me something, but he doesn't want him to answer it. That he wants me to answer it personally. You have to come back in." And then come back. I wasn't expecting, So when I went in, this is obviously after Tov Shalom Ches. There was already a bed in the room full time. The one that I brought down, Shmini Atzeres, that bed stayed there. And the Rebbe was sitting not by his desk. The Rebbe was sitting like with his back towards by the windows. And there's a small table there, Marash's table that he was sitting.
You used that table?
And when I went there, I think every time I went there, it looked like he was sitting. I don't know if it was always, or we just, I don't know. I never asked if that's where he was always sitting.
I've heard before that the Rebbe didn't usually use like the regular seat.
He didn't, I went to Chiddush. I don't think the Rebbe usually sat.
He just sat on the side.
Which because the Rebbe had so many papers, and he was moving around. There was different times over there. There had so many papers on the bed. I never understood. Suppose that was resting or sometimes in the bed. Like, what a job was to take all the papers off the bed. It was like, I'm not exaggerating. Piles were on the bed. So there were piles. Look, before Yechidus, they took a lot of stuff, Mazkiris, and moved it and put it in other places and so on. I mean, I don't know. They made it wasn't the same. Look, I can't say this with certainty.
Right, yeah.
I can't say 100% with certainty. I mean, at times I know that was a fact. That was. So people went later on to Yechidus. The bed wasn't in the room, obviously. So things were prepared for Yechidus for those few years that there was still Yechidus in the Rebbe's room from them. When the Rebbe started Yechidus again, which was...
it was slowing down already, but there was still
Yechidus, but when you went to Yechidus, the bed wasn't there.
Right.
So obviously the stuff was moved. I don't think there's any secret. I mean, if someone realized there was a bed and the Rebbe slept there Shabbos, and then you come to Yechidus, the bed wasn't there. Obviously, So I go into the room, and like I said, the Rebbe was sitting. You know what? When I walked in the second time, I never saw the bed. I walked a minutes later. I mean, obviously the bed was there. I don't remember. I remember when I put on the video the first time. I remember distinctly the bed was there because I walked around with the car to the other side so I should be able to see it. When I walked back in, to me, I never saw the bed because I felt like I walked practically. I mean, they wanted to speak to me, so I walked within. I remember standing near the bed, and I remember walking around the bed. I don't remember that part. So the Rebbe says, "Ich gefragt meinen Taten, zu das mitgetan b'shas Maisa." And my father didn't even tell me when he came to that. Was asked him that question. Did I say that I said my father told him that Rebbe asked him a question, but he didn't want him to answer that? I have to answer that. Okay,
so the question is.
He said, "So mitgetan b'shas Maisa." And
you have to translate the.
There's no translation, to be honest, because till today
I still don't understand. I asked your father if you danced
along, but that's not. I don't think he was not. It was. That's not what. He didn't mean in the literal sense. I mean that I understood. He didn't mean that in the literal sense. And you think at one point you can think that Rebbe was just kidding around, if you can use the word kidding around, but he was very serious. That was very serious. So he asked a second time. I didn't answer the first time. He asked the second time. And I still didn't answer. But then he asked, I'm telling you, when I think about that, I think if I was able to drill myself into the floor over there in the Rebbe's room, I would have done that because. So I went like half yes, half no. I didn't know there was no good answer for me, at least from my feeling of how to answer that. So I didn't know which one, honestly, which would be more chutzpahdik to say. If I said yes, if I said no, I mean, I didn't know. And then I never understood the question. And like I said, till today, I don't have like an assumption what it meant. I'm sure that it was accurate when it was asking, but I don't know. So then the Rebbe said, no, Mistamas the Zicher, bei freien der Zeit in Tonnen den Jönem, und beschaß es Tonnen den Jönem, soll sein mittanzen, und nicht mittanzen, soll mittanzen, nicht mittanzen auf Jeze sein, sondern mittanzen auf Anemes. And I walked out, and
Translate what the Rebbe said.
So after he asked 3 times if he danced along, again, I'm just saying that didn't mean literal. He asked, and I wasn't sure what to answer, so I shrugged my shoulder a bit. So the Rebbe said, okay, so you should probably for sure you'll free up your time to be involved with these things. And the Rebbe didn't really specify when he said these things. And when you'll spend the things, and then you should dance along, not just to be Yetzer for, I don't know how to translate Yetzer, not just
That's good, no?
Yeah. But you should dance along truthfully, I guess, for MS. Really, if that's the right word either, I'm not sure. So I went out, huh?
The Rebbe gave you some type of mandate.
Yeah, but I wasn't sure exactly what it was. And I spent the next couple of weeks and the next few months after that trying to figure out what was Rebbe talking. I don't know why I didn't ask Rebbe to be more specific. I don't know why, we didn't do things like that then. I know you just didn't do that. Hello, Rebbe, what did you mean? I don't know. We just didn't do that. Didn't do that. And I try to think why not be more specific. So what happened was, I thought about it, and I thought, well, it has to do with television, I guess. But I didn't think that the Rebbe was talking about PR. And if he was talking about PR, I was like, to have success with PR, in my opinion, was very difficult. Because you're going to television stations, you don't control, you have to fight for them to come, you have to fight for them to put on. Then you have to make sure that the content that they used is accurate, and the things that they say, editorialize, is accurate. I thought to myself then, why do I have to use their channels? Why do we have to, go through them. Let's start our own network in a way. And it so happens that Tafshalam Zayin, I was in Shlichus in Teresamas in Shalayim. I remember we were coming back, we were sitting in the back of the plane, we stopped in London, I think it was when we were coming back for Pesach. And some of the Chaverim were sitting there. I remember Yossi Shantov is now in Tucson, was sitting there also next to me. And this guy sitting there, and, back then you used to get on the plane, you used to talk to people next to you. Hello, how are you? Ifabrein, L'chaim. It was like, now you get on the plane, you don't say anything to people. But then, it was like, it was normal. And where you come from? I think he was coming from Saudi Arabia or something like that. We in Saudi Arabia. I work for an American company called RCA, Americom. And we do international satellites, and we do uplinks and downlinks. We sell to governments, basically for governments and so on. They've sold to Israel. Very nice. Okay, you want to give me some brochures or whatever. I took it. I wrote it.
You had his brochures?
I had his brochures, yeah.
Okay.
That's how it, I had brochures, I didn't understand really what it was. And I called him up and said, you know what? I had his business card. Yeah.
Lam Zayin, Lam Tches, Lam Tes, Mem. So for 3 years before you guys
probably, put it down, put it somewhere. Okay. Yeah. Kept it, it sounded, interesting, whatever. I don't know why back then. I don't know. And the guy that we met was a guy. But I said, you know what? Maybe we get our own satellite, we get our own uplinks, we get this own thing, and so I call him up, and it turns out it's forget about it. The money, it's not something you could build on your own, basically. I mean, it's not, you can have, the whole thing didn't, but he says, you know what? You can lease time on the equipment, on satellites. And he gave a name, a guy at Horowitz in New Jersey, whatever. He was working also, maybe also for RC, I don't remember. We called him up, and he says, yeah. He says, yeah, I can lease the time on a satellite. Yeah, no problem. But you have to get up to the satellite. How are you getting up to the satellite? Anyway,
what does that mean, get up to the satellite?
How does the signal get on the satellite? It has to go somewhere. How's it going to the satellite?
So you need like a dish.
You can call dish, but it wasn't. These are
transmitters.
Transmitter. You have to go transmitter, but transmitters don't hang around in Brooklyn or anything like that. The transmitters are fixed, and for the most part, then the television networks had.
I remember the one on the roof of 770.
That was a receiver of a dish to be able to see. Yeah. That was something else. That was nothing. It was a dish, but it was to get signal of, if something was on the satellite, we can receive it off the satellite. But
okay.
But the difference really in when Jim started doing the recordings and all that, to put it on a satellite, it had to be something called broadcast quality. It had to be a certain quality. Otherwise, they won't give you time on the satellite. They're just not going to bother. It had to be a certain technical excellence that they will.
That's like a standard in the industry.
A standard. It was a standard. It's called broadcast quality. So you couldn't just go and get some random cheap camera and think, okay, I'll take it here and then I'll give it to someone that's going to put it up to the satellite, and then they wouldn't accept it. They wouldn't put it up there. So what happened was we had to get the signal from 770 to what's called an uplink to the satellite. So if you go up the roof of 770, you can see Manhattan skyline. And I don't know if today you can still, but back then you were able to see Empire State Building. So we rented a room in the Empire State Building, and we had to call like AT&T or something like that to get what's called a microwave dish. I sent a microwave dish from 770 to Empire State Building. And Empire State Building had towers on the roof that had signals and cables going to different uplinks to the satellites in different parts of the tri-state area. There was a place in Long Island, there was a place in Staten Island. I don't remember if Brooklyn had, then there was, I think, in New Jersey. So you had to rent a line to go from the Empire State Building, after you had the room and after you were able to take the signal, you had to rent lines to an uplink, and the uplink had to be available. It was a process, and we worked through the process. And
you asked the Rebbe before this?
No, I don't think they said that I want to do the satellites and so on. Not until I had it all figured out. Not until I had it all figured out.
Among Chassidim is brought to you by Chassidische Der Herr. We live in a chaotic world. A world where for us Chassidim, as a Seinu, Lei Ra'inu, we do not have the ability to hear and see the Rebbe on a daily basis. Yet we know that the Rebbe is very much with us, and the Chassidus Chabad is alive and thriving more than ever before. One needs to only tap into it. Chassidische Der Herr provides you and your family with the tools necessary to tap into all of this. Whether it's the monthly magazine, the way it all began, whether it's Der Herr books, Der Herr online content, and so much more. Men, women, and children throughout the world benefit and use these tools on a daily basis. Whether it's children enjoying the children's magazine that comes along with the regular Der Herr, or enjoying the children's podcast, whether it's Bachrim in yeshivas receiving the Der Herr, whether it's girls in high schools enjoying Der Herr Club in their local high school. People all over the world and from all walks of life enjoy and utilize these tools and take advantage of it. If you're not already subscribed to Der Herr Monthly Magazine, do so today at derher.org. That's derher.org. Der Herr is a dynamic organization which is committed to continue providing these tools, grow on a constant basis, and do all that we can to help this effort. Baruch Hashem, it takes a lot of resources and finances to make this all happen. You can be part of the Her through your financial support as well, through visiting our website, theher.org, or through contacting us to setting up a meeting. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the podcast.
And when we finally had it figured out, what we thought was figured out, we made the trial of Tishrei, I think it was Tishrei, with Los Angeles, with Shlomo Kunin. He stayed there. He was in Los Angeles for the Farbrengen. And I called him and said, look, we're going to put this on the cable. And then we had this idea. There are cable stations. There were thousands of cable stations in America. And if we contact them, I had someone in New York making contacts, and then we did this flyer, for instance. This went to the cable stations, the flyer that they should put it on. And we'd put it here, which satellite,
take it out.
Which satellite it's for, and so on.
So this is later, once it's established.
No, it's as we were starting.
This is the beginning. This is 1987.
Okay, yeah, but we did the same, more or less same format.
So you have the live via satellite. So this went into a newspaper.
No, this went to cable stations.
Oh, to the stations.
Yeah, the advertising
coast to coast, the world headquarters of the Lubavitch movement, evening with the Lubavitch Rebbe, to the point of here's Jem's logo.
But then there's a box there. There's the satellite information.
Satellite transmission, SATCOM IIR, transponder 7, beginning 9:30 p.m. EDST until approximately 1:30 a.m. EDST. So this is a notification to them
where they can, how they have to, they need the coordinates where to put it in, how they program, where they find our signal.
So they're looking for content, or you?
Yeah, usually the cable stations, then we're looking for content. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for the most part. Yeah.
So you establish it in one place, and then you let other satellite stations know that it's available. And
they want their cable stations. Yeah,
cable stations. Sorry.
So what we did was we had a mailing list of thousands of cable stations. We had
There's so many stations. Okay.
Back then there was like 4,000. We were very small. Then they got consolidated, so it was less. But back then there were a lot. And then we notified the shluchim. We sent to the shluchim and say, look, guys, you're local. You call them up. They had channels that were like free channels and so on, or they public service, whatever it is. And we established a network that way. We had hundreds of stations, maybe more. I don't know if we had 1,000, but we had hundreds of stations. But we made sure to go to markets. There were a lot of people. And when I say thousands, you had a lot of them that were in small markets. So we went to markets that we knew, either were Jewish or that they had, millions of people.
So that's how the first.
Yeah, but that's the concept we used. Later on as well. It was the same thing.
And the GEM name you started right away. You made an organization out of it.
When I started right away, I started under Chinuch Visual Center.
Chinuch Visual Center.
Yeah, but that number was, it's funny you ask. But yeah, then I switched it. Then we did like AKA or whatever, AKA for Jewish Educational Media. But then later on, we just reorganized it under Jewish Educational Media.
Mm-hmm. And why is it like a name like that, not like Chabad?
Okay, good question. Good question. First of all, I didn't know if I want to ask the Rebbe about using the name Chabad. I don't know. Even for instance, WLCC, it wasn't technically,
It wasn't
wasn't
an official.
Wasn't, So I never pushed for that. On the other hand, I thought if it doesn't say Chabad and it's Jewish education, promoting Chabad, I thought it would be a little more receptive in a certain way.
Yeah.
And funny, the reason I used Chinuch or educational, because when we started, and then the Rebbe gave an answer about being involved sort of it part-time, because they didn't see Parnas on it and so on, before I was married. The Rebbe said to be involved the other part-time with Chinuch. So I figured if I make this Chinuch and Jewish education and one, it'll be one entity. It's.
That was in hindsight.
Huh?
That was in hindsight, because Jem used.
No.
Oh, you started saying it didn't have a name in the beginning.
Didn't have a name when we started. Yeah, it didn't have a name yet. No, it didn't have a name yet. No, we just did it
So, okay, you mentioned about that answer that you got from the Rebbe about doing this with Parnasa and then with Jem. I see that you showed me before that you have this answer here, so I want to see. I want to get to that. So we'll go through some of the answers you got from the Rebbe about Gem. As Hashem, if you could show me that. But before then, let's just finish off the story of the initial. You're talking about getting the satellite from Manhattan, from Empire State Building. So how do you get from there to a live broadcast in 770?
Yeah, so all of this was new, obviously, totally unfamiliar with it. I think I mentioned to you that personally I didn't know how to hold the camera. Still don't. So I didn't have that knowledge and experience. But I mean, it just meant we had to go find the people. So we discussed how to get the satellite, how to get the signal to the satellite. But then you need to have cameras in 770 at the Farbrengen. And they had to be manned by cameramen that were professional. And then the 770 had to be like wired up, be able to get the signals. So I think at the time we had 3 or 4 cameras by the Farbrengens in different angles. We had one right facing the Rebbe, one behind the Rebbe. Then we had another one to the side. And then we had a wide one. Maybe it wasn't manned, the 4th one.
This didn't all happen initially, but over time.
No, after the first 1 or 2 Farbrengens,
Yeah.
we try to move it to the next level constantly, yeah. So we had to rent the equipment. We had to rent the whole studio. And we set up one of the offices that took over on the 2nd floor next to my father's office. There was a room there. We made did some construction there, made some adjustments that we can put a panel of cameras. And
of cameras? Oh, okay.
Monitors.
Monitors.
Monitors. It's interesting because the crew that we were able to find, I knew somebody at ABC Television. I don't remember how I got him. His name was Julius Barnathan. I don't remember how I got to him, but he was a resource for me if I needed camera people, equipment, and where to get it, and things like that. He was obviously a Jewish guy, and he was very involved with designing, even engineering equipment for sports events like the baseball games, the football games, the Olympics. It was his brain that did a lot of stuff that evolved over time. And I called him about the Farbrengen. He loved the idea, and he used to watch the Farbrengen. He was so helpful. Anyway, he gave me some names of people that worked at the time at ABC that did some of the baseball games and so on. That knew how to go in a stadium where there was a sports game. They went in and wired the whole place from scratch every single time, because sometimes one network had it, sometimes another network had it. So they went in there. They all brought in their own equipment at studios and so on.
So you didn't need to reinvent the wheel. Saying, but there was a service you can hire because of this.
What you mean for us?
Yeah.
In New York. Well, it wasn't a service. It was not a service. It wasn't one phone call. No, it wasn't. No, but I had names of people that already did it. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, these people, for the most, I think all of them were Jewish for the most part. And very obviously secular, if you can use that word. But they loved to come to do this, the Farbrengen. They loved it. They used to thank me. I used to pay them, of course. They used to thank me. And they always used to come, when's the next one? It was like, I'm here, these people are out there doing all these games. I think it's a lot more exciting for them than a Farbrengen. But they all loved it. All the people involved loved what they were doing. I don't know if they loved the challenge or they loved working with the people they were working with. They all loved it. So we had to rent the cameras, and it's another place that was able to call, broadcast quality cameras and so on. And again, I mean, this stuff is just bekitzer, but it was a different level and so on. So they came, they would wire up the place. Maybe in the beginning we had to start a day or two before, perhaps start the wiring. But after time, no one knew what to do, know where the wires go, so they were able to come start the morning of. You want to believe the biggest challenge was? Is get a cameraman with a camera to stand in 770 by Farbrengen. That meant he's either going to block somebody, or someone has to move a few feet so he can squeeze in. It was a fight. It was literally a fight. Mm-hmm. And you have to explain to someone, I understand. You want to see, I understand that you want to see the Farbrengen, you want to be there. But if you move over 2 feet, or if you're possibly millions of people can see the Rebbe. I mean, that was the logic but people didn't understand it then. They didn't understand it.
Yeah.
People didn't understand Bachalal. People didn't understand, in a way, the value. It's shocking. I mean, I believe now people understand the value. And I probably myself didn't understand the extent of the value of it. But cooperation inside 770, by most people, didn't exist. So that was from the bigger challenges, is how to get them there. I think the fact that some point, if I bring them there, we turn to all the camera people, especially the gem camera people, and go,
say l'chaim.
Say l'chaim. To us, so we had a studio upstairs. My brother Yossi Friedman was with me in the studio. He was the director in the studio, and that basically meant that we were getting signals in there. There's cameras, all these cameras. They're coming, one camera, camera number 1, camera number 2, number 3, number 4. And you can only send out one. You only send out one, or split the screen and send out 2. So he would direct them. Get closer to the Rebbe. Get wide out. I want to see a crowd. So he did a very good job doing that, Yossi. And we were just discussing, in fact, because someone made a comment about the famous Samal Hanafshi that we did. It wasn't practice. The one that I've seen, Samal Hanafshi.
Mm-hmm, the video, yeah.
In the video, that became automatic.
That became like
a class, yeah. And
in every Lubavitch video, it started off with that. Yeah.
He wasn't trained to do this or whatever, but he had a good eye for it, and did it like how do you say, on the fly. It was done. You didn't have a chance. There was no second edits. There wasn't anything. That's how it went. But the fact that the Rebbe used to tell them to say l'chaim, so even we felt that in the studio. Obviously that was.
And also
I was talking to us and so on. Huh?
The people that are watching, the Rebbe is telling them l'chaim.
Yeah, and yes.
And the Chassidim that watch the videos today.
Exactly, that's my point. I said, and I believe it. And I said, the Rebbe was telling the Doires to tell them to say l'chaim. Absolutely. So that was, and you know what? It never ever got used to that. Everything, I think, did every single Fabringen. But it was something when Rebbe did it. It was powerful. It was powerful, very powerful, and very telling. So he said, "Look, you can see Rebbe's, tell him say l'chaim. So move a foot, move it, and sometimes these cameras would jump and move. They were still being hit and so on. But that was from the bigger challenge. But Baruch Hashem, we're thankful for what we have. It's a lot of stuff we didn't get on, unfortunately, but it is what it is. And we probably didn't understand the value of the recordings anywhere now, like we see today.
You're saying today that the fact that after Gimel Tammuz videos is an essential lifeline.
And you know what? Yeah, a necessity probably. Yeah.
Necessity, yeah.
Yeah, probably. And we didn't think about that at that time. It wasn't. It was more of an afterthought to a very big extent.
Right.
Have it, archive it, whatever. Have it. And it was not. We didn't deal with it at the time.
And that was after Gimel Tammuz. Rabbi Elkanah Shmatkin got involved in getting the videos.
Elkanah does a great job. Yes, very unbelievable. Yes, kol hakavod to him. It really moved it to the next level in every way. Right,
and beginning with just discovering where the videos are and locating each recording.
No, I had to record the videos I had together, but what Elkanah gets a lot of credit for is we were storing the videos and we weren't storing in any professional place, and they were deteriorating.
Right,
and the stuff that my father did, like in the Lameds. I mean, that was sent to FBI labs to restore. They had to restore it. It wasn't the physical tapes. The tape itself had to be restored.
Right.
I don't know, you guys, but I think maybe it cost $1 million, or close to $1 million. It was a lot of money. And the stuff deteriorates. The tape, and if it's not stored properly, and so on. And now it migrates to different technologies and so on to make it. But no matter what, they say there's always degrade in a certain way the quality. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it wasn't enough just recording it and having it, and the big question is, what do you do with it, and how do you disseminate it properly?
That's what Jem is doing today. Yeah,
that's what Jem is doing today. Yeah.
I think it's one of the inyanim that it's a ma'aseh that was started for then live, but took on a whole new life after Gimel Tammuz, and it's still the method of one of the main methods of the Rebbe's the Rebbe getting out to ourselves and to the
absolutely.
world.
Yeah, sure. And I see it from my grandchildren, of course. I see it, in o'clock during yeshivas, and to them, it's their lifeline to the Rebbe. Absolutely, no question. I mean, I hear from others and so on, and all married people today, they come home and say, this is my whole connection. Absolutely,
For sure.
and it'll be for generations. But you know what? I mentioned Talkana a few times, but I had answers from the Rebbe regarding taking videos and editing it. And I was very, very concerned about the chayas that someone has about editing a video. It's interesting, the Rebbe understood then, which is not a speller, but the Rebbe understood then that you can take the Rebbe's videos and then just edit it in almost,
Things can be taken out of context.
Out of context, yeah. You can move it however you want.
So you had some ideas to make some short
No,
videos.
but the Rebbe said, like, ask me, you taking chayas that is going to be, to what the kavanah was,
Yeah, for sure.
But now, you think about it, now with AI, you see how dangerous it is.
Right, anything
Now
can
it's
be manipulated.
really dangerous, and you really have to figure out a way to make sure that, there's a way to certify what's accurate and what's real versus, God forbid, stuff that's coming out.
Right, that's a whole thing
the
that
crazy stuff with it.
Now, Jem, for example, worked on AI. I think one of the points of why can't you use one of the tools out there is the accuracy.
Of course. And you can't trust a lot of things you watch today.
Right, so you need if you have it built by ourselves.
Right, exactly.
Then
and
it can be
something we have to do for sure.
Yeah,
sure.
This is the AI
It's
discussion.
next challenge for the next generation.
Yeah,
but it's now. It's here and now.
Okay, so back to. There's one element that you didn't discuss is that you have to have simultaneous translation.
Right.
So that was kind of happening already, wasn't it? It was, yeah.
Yeah, of course we started right from the beginning. We realized right away.
No, I'm saying even before the videos, there was some type of translation happening.
Oh, and you mean in 770?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They had the transistors.
Yeah, the transistors for people.
Yeah. But that was that was different than Alter Ben Mazkir used to do it. He was one of them. I don't know
One
the
of the
others.
people,
He's
yeah.
one of yeah.
So then Manis Friedman started.
Yeah, we started first. I don't remember. Maybe Zalman Posner started first. A few people. I don't remember who we started first before. We alternated a few times, and then we.
But that was right away. I mean, you had
Right. Yes. See, on the satellite and on the cable there was something called Channel A and Channel B for audio. So we'd have one channel was originally Yiddish, and the second channel was English. But even in English, we had, you were able to mix it. So we had, it wasn't fully. I don't think we ever had full English without the Yiddish.
Yeah, you could always hear the Rebbe.
You always hear the Rebbe.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is, I don't remember what point we mentioned to the Rebbe. That's how we were doing it. And the Rebbe had questions about it, how we were mixing the audio and so on. And we said that point that you can always hear the Rebbe. So I think at that point, if I'll tell the Rebbe, you know what, if the Rebbe wants to see it.
This is right in the beginning?
It wasn't the beginning. I think it was within the year. No, it wasn't right away in the beginning. This was probably within the year. It wasn't in the beginning. It wasn't right away.
So your father asked if the Rebbe wants to see the video.
And Rebbe said, yeah. So we made up a time. I don't think it was a few days later. I think it was like for the following week.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but the Rebbe had a reaction to the whole thing before in the beginning, or was like it happened? Like you like you asked the Rebbe before, could we do this, or was it like?
I have to check. I don't remember if I asked him, but I may have asked him. I don't remember, but I asked later on, and the most likely the reason I asked later on, for the most part. Like the first one wasn't a major investment, and we knew and we probably didn't. It needed preparation. In other words, if you want to really have a network of stations, you need to prepare it. You have to tell them months in advance. You have to book the time. With LA at this one, we didn't. We were only doing, I think, to one place. Maybe did also Manhattan. So, and it was like a little bit of I guess to say a test run, see how it goes, if we have all the pieces right. So. We probably did it with less notice. I have to check and see if what we did for Vav Tishrei, how much. I think we went to 1 or 2 markets and we said we're having this on in a few weeks. Please put it on. And they cooperated and they put it on. But we always needed close to 2 months to do it, and it was even 2 months was late because the programmers, you go to programmers and they're months ahead, so you have to squeeze it in. You have to have a place. So the problem was we didn't always know which, when there was Farbrengen, then what time. I don't remember if weekday Farbrengens beforehand had a set time of 9:30. I don't remember that. Shabbos Farbrengen started 1:30. Weekday Farbrengens, if I remember correctly, they could have started 8 o'clock. I think somewhere between 8 and 9:30. I think so.
I know there were changes from.
There were changes. Right?
Yeah.
That's how I remember it over the years in the Chovs and the Lamets. So it wasn't always the same. But they would announce it a few days before.
Right.
Announce a few days before. Here, what do I announce? It's going to be if I bring in 8 o'clock, and if I bring the start to 9:30, or if we announce this as a Thursday night Farbrengen, turns out the Rebbe's going to Farbrengen Shabbos. I mean, you had to ask the Rebbe earlier. And it was interesting. This is one, I don't know if you're going to call it side benefit. I don't know if that's the right word. Probably not. But we asked the Rebbe and said, look, we need to prepare this in advance. And it almost worked out 2 months. It was almost 2 months before every Farbrengen. See, Rav Tishrei, the next one was Yud Shvat. 2 months. From Yud Shvat, the next one was, the Rebbe didn't let us do Purim. That's a separate thing. The next one was
Listen.
And the next one was Yud Beis Tammuz, another 2 months. Yud Beis Tammuz Chavav. So that was like almost the minimum. And then you have to book the satellite. You can't get satellite last minute. You can't buy that many hours of satellite time so late. So what I'm saying was a side benefit that you knew way in advance when there was Farbrengen.
Yeah, to the point that at the end of the Farbrengens, it says that when the next one will be.
Yeah.
At the end of the satellite, you can see in the video, it says when the next one will be.
But the part that was really, I guess, uncomfortable and so is that asking there was something now what he's going to do in 2 months from now. And I don't know. I'm not sure,
It's not how Lubavitch worked.
Yeah, I'm not sure the Rebbe was necessarily all that pleased or comfortable with that so much in advance. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Because I have a lot of answers about that, a lot of answers.
Okay, so go back to, so the Rebbe asked your father asked the Rebbe if the Rebbe wants to see it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so the Rebbe said, yeah. So, which was interesting that the Rebbe, when it was offered, the Rebbe said, yeah. So, made up a time, was during the day. This time I already knew the drill, not great the last time. Brought in the cart and the VCR, and the monitor. And that Sicha used to be earlier, it used to be a Nigun before, when the Rebbe walked in. Later on, I think more by the broadcast, the Rebbe went straight to Sicha. I'm sorry, remember it. Don't say I'm not saying 100% accuracy, but more or less. So I go in, start the Sicha, I put it down, I put play, and I stand there, and forever, listen 5-10 minutes, and then he'll nod, okay. Ashkech, whatever, So I stand in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it goes 20 minutes, and Sicha is going, goes half hour, 40 minutes, and to one point, I think it was past an hour. I think it was even longer than that, definitely over an hour. Sicha finishes, and the Rebbe turns around, he says, a dank, aber next Mal, so he's climbing Akir to the Sicha. Next time, pick a shorter Sicha. And I was like, wow. I mean, I was amazing that they didn't want to stop the Sicha in the middle. His own Sicha, they didn't want to stop in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a lesson. It's a lesson. I tried to apply that lesson,
It's a video of the Rebbe's.
You don't walk out. I mean, go to the aisle and I stand there, okay, you don't walk out. I mean, he told me, you don't stop in the middle. You can't stop in the middle. So Which is interesting. There was a next to mall. And I think, there was a next to mall. But I wasn't going to pick out the sikh. I'm going to pick out short sikh. It didn't enter my mind that there would be such a issue that the Rebbe wouldn't want to stop it. So that was a big wow moment for me.
Was there another time that the Rebbe asked to see it? Or
there was another time. There were other times. But that was different. That was more like Hanukkah Live. I don't know if you remember, when we did Hanukkah Live, we were in a studio somewhere.
Which Hanukkah Live is a whole other thing because it's simultaneous video.
Yeah, so it was technically, for technology wise, was way complicated. Way complicated into the different. We had sometimes 10 countries. I forgot how many countries we had, and it was wild stuff that we did then. Hardly anyone ever did anything like that.
At that time, yeah.
Nah, you know what? Probably even now. I don't know why. Why would anyone have an event, live events around the world? 13. Who's doing that? Like, I don't know. I can't imagine who was doing it. Why they would do it. Right. Everybody see each other. You can get incoming feeds. That's easy. But it's two-way. Maybe
probably today technology.
Today it's totally different. The internet is not all that changed. So a few things at Hanukkah Live that I was watching at the time. There was a problem with the audio in 770.
The first year.
It could be the first year, yeah. So we told the Rebbe we had recorded it, and we had a good copy of it. If you wanted to see it, he said, yeah. That was another time.
The Rebbe really appreciated Hanukkah Live. You could tell just from the sikhs where the Rebbe talks about it. And Liris, it's like the whole concept.
There's no question about it. It was Rabbi Shem Tov's idea.
Yeah.
And it was to his credit. Yeah. That was taking it to a whole nother level. Absolutely. If the Rebbe appreciated it, yeah.
In the 3 years before Chavdei Neder, Nun and Alf Nun Beis that it happened, I think it took till Nun Beis to get for 90% of the technology to work. Yeah.
It was a challenge, For the most part, we did stuff on a shoestring, or even less than a shoestring. And to do it probably with the ultimate of professionals is probably, cost $1 million. I have no idea.
For Hanukkah Live?
Maybe it was somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million, It still costed a lot of money. But it wasn't a cheap type of project. And even with them, my wife reminds me that I've shown her that not, and I think I sent it to her actually. That I think it was in the Wall Street Journal, maybe Time Magazine or whatever. That Ronald Reagan tried to have a similar setup where they had an interactive, and it didn't work. Right. It didn't work. This is from Washington. You saw the article?
No.
Yeah, you have to look it up. It's there. They did it, and it didn't work. So I felt, okay, a little bit, if that's an excuse or vindication of any sort.
And then another thing you did was the Lag Baimer parades. You did that also on television.
Yeah, in fact, so the Rebbe came then to the library a few times. And we did bring her a monitor there from what we were broadcasting, even though she can somewhat see it from where she was. And she was sitting in the room that we were discussing earlier that they made, my father and the Rebbe made for the Rebbe.
That room?
She sat there upstairs on the second floor, yeah.
Today that's the...
I don't know, I don't know the exhibit. I know what they do there.
Is that like the...
I'm sorry to say, I'm embarrassed to say I haven't been there in 10 years.
No, probably that's the room where they sit, where the librarian sits.
Could be. Very possible. I don't know. It's possible. Okay. I don't know. I haven't been there.
That was also... it was similar to Hanukkah Live. You had, narration and that whole thing.
But one of the big regrets I have is that, because again, we bring up Brother Rebbe, she wanted to see it. We wanted to show her at home, see it at home. The Fabrengen, not the Lagbrim, Fabrengen. And we try to do it. We try to set it up, try to bring a signal there to do it. And it didn't work. We were discussing before about, sometimes it takes money. The big regret is when say, let's do whatever it takes. We tried once or twice, send a microwave with it. The problem is from 770, you couldn't really see the Rebbe's house that easily. There were buildings in the corner over there that blocked. So you would have to bring equipment that had very high masts to see, the signal and so on. I do regret that we never did that.
But why can't it be a regular television monitor?
At that time, there was no cable in Brooklyn.
Oh, there's no cable.
If it was cable in Brooklyn, we wouldn't be having the conversation. We wouldn't have the
There's no
guilt.
cable.
There was no cable in Brooklyn.
You have to live in Manhattan to get cable.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Interesting. Okay.
in fact, the cable station we worked with, there was a cable station out in Long Island. It turned out being one of the biggest ones in the country. They were talking to us. I don't remember what we were using them for. We used to put the Rebbe's Fabring in Long Island. It was on Long Island in Cablevision. There was a guy he was high up in the organization there. And then they wanted to get permission to come to Brooklyn. I think maybe at the end they did. I don't ever follow them. And they called me and asked me, oh, you're a big organization. You have probably connections in the city and in Brooklyn. Maybe you can help us get cable television to Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you help us get the Rebbe on television. We can help you bring television to Brooklyn. That was like, that was not, was a bit of a no-go. It wasn't something we were, going to do. So,
But I believe one of the Hanukkah lives was on local stations also.
Yes, it was. Yeah, I think it was Channel 9 WOR.
WOR?
Yeah.
Local. That's
That
wild
was
that happened.
Yeah, I mean, the boys came to and said they can do it, and I was like, how we do? Yeah, it was done.
Somehow the Bachram figured it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think...
Again, it's also only possible because the quality of what we were doing was broadcast quality, and they would accept it. They want to let you put something that they didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so you have a binder here with various answers from the Rebbe. So I think the first one is something that you mentioned already. What you wrote what the Rebbe said about like setting up an office for Jemma. So I think it's
all right. It's like somewhat, I guess, personal.
I think it's at the end.
At the end, so you went through the book already. Yeah, here. So what do you want to discuss about it?
Can you take it out?
Yeah.
If you take it out, you can read it. So what was the question that you wrote to the Rebbe?
I have to read the question. I don't remember exactly. We want to set up a studio.
What year is this?
Tafshim Mem Aleph.
So this is right in the beginning. So you want to set up a studio.
Yeah, we discussed earlier, and I said I had to rent all the equipment, all that. So we thought, of course, whatever, and set up a studio and have people and so on. I'm just reading to myself. Yeah, it's exactly how we discussed earlier, that you need a lot of preparation and technical stuff. But at least I want to hire 2 people to work on it. And one of them was my brother-in-law, Yossi Friedman, and the other one was Simcha Gottlieb, who had already experience in working in television projects. And they had worked with us on the Yutas Kislev. I'm just familiarizing myself with it. Then I mentioned that the satellite that we used in the past a few times, that were already booked, so just letting the Rebbe know we're trying to find and ask for bracha to help find other satellites that have the availability. Okay, so Rebbe answers. It's funny because I don't say anything about what I'm going to hire the people. The Rebbe says, "Eni roya b'chol hanal inyan shel parnasa shlema ukfua b'shviloi." And then
you translate as you read.
The Rebbe says, "I don't see in everything you write up above any inyan of parnasa, a full parnasa, and steady for me." Most, part parnasa. And the Rebbe says, "Begiloi dash iker underlined, the most important thing."
At your age.
Yeah, my age. Yeah, I was 22 years old. Shidduch, and a son nisuin marriage, bepail, v'chol hazoris b'kayetze bazeh harei meshubach, and the most and if whoever is the most diligent in effectuating it is meshubach, blessed. He's lucky. It's fortunate. The word is fortunate. So, and then the first question will be is about Parnasa.
So
And Parnasa and then ...
So when you get married, Parnasa is going to be important. And this is not
but I never asked about Parnasa, and at that time I wasn't thinking about Parnasa, so this hit me like a ton of bricks. So then V'loch and Yisrakes, they will underline, therefore you should like pull yourself together. Yishtadel, and you should put an effort. Kidorish, like is needed, underline. Bazeh, in this. And then Barak Bizman, Aponim is there, and only on your free time, Yasa Mechol Hanal, ask Elatzin. And then only when you're free from, I guess, finding a shidduch and getting married, then you should be involved with these things.
Deborah wrote this. He's holding it up to the camera. So this, okay, so put it back. So this is, you started, so that's when you started the shidduchim?
Yeah, and this was Yudal Tevis.
And I know there's a story when you got engaged, but the Rebbe told your father what happened.
Yeah, it was actually before I got engaged, yeah.
What happened?
So, just to give background how it was, I don't know how if you're, I don't know, when did you get married?
Later.
When were you born?
Yeah, exactly. Better question.
I used to be the Seder, typically, when someone was Mazkir shidduch, so they Mazkir to the parents or the boy to the girl or whatever it was, and each individually, the boy or the girl, used to write into the Rebbe if they should meet. If the boy should meet the girl should meet the boy. Now, that was a status. Maybe the parents wrote in, you know. So, and if the Rebbe answered each one yes, then they would meet. And then they would meet and then write into the Rebbe for a bracha to get married. And sometimes the Rebbe would tell the boy yes and the girl no, or the girl yes and the boy no, which was interesting. But that's how it went. So I had a chaver who had a cousin, Mendy Darren. He was a Posner. He had a cousin that was Gerelik in Milan, and he was Matzia, one of the Gerelik girls. And I mentioned to my father. So one of the side benefits he had from being a Mazkir is my father had spent a lot of time during the day, in and out of the Rebbe, and especially also used to drive the Rebbe home or to the Ale and so on. So the day after, whatever it was, within a few days of when he mentioned, I don't know if it was that day, next day, whatever, he mentions to the Rebbe that his Hatzal came up and whether they should look into it. And whether they should start looking into it. And the Rebbe says yes. Okay, a day or two later, my father mentions it to me. So what I have to do is I have to write to the Rebbe and see if ask the Rebbe if you should meet or not meet. And then the girl has to do the same thing. It was just about Yud Shvat then. It was Yud Shvat. It was around Yud Shvat. Around Yud Shvat. Anyway, we both get an answer. Probably Yud Aleph Shvat. We should meet. Okay, so I think on Yud Gimel Shvat we met, spent a few hours. Back then, if you go out to meet, we went to the airport. I think people, that's what they did then. Just go to the airport somewhere and meet. Spent a few hours. The next day, so I think it was Yud Gimel, Yud Dalet. The next day was the Tu B'Shvat Verbringen. So again, I don't remember if it was Yud Gimel, Yud Dalet, and the Verbringen was Yud Dalet Tezvav, but Tezvav, I don't remember the Tu B'Shvat Verbringen, when it was. Cher used to be on Tezvav. Anyway, so the next night was a Fabrein, Al Kapanim, and then the next day we met a second time. Before, we met a second time. the next day, the Rebbe asked my father in the car, was Herzach mit der Shidduch? So my father says that they greeten sich, bring them my bracha for the...
You only met once?
Twice.
Twice.
By the time we met twice.
Mm-hmm.
And the Rebbe was like, Azay schnell, Azay via satellite. You know, it fascinated me how the Rebbe looked at the technical part of it, that a satellite was one of the things of a satellite. Of course, that it covered a big area, but that it was
Instant.
And the Rebbe was very, how the Rebbe focused on that part.
That your shidduch is like a satellite.
Yeah. So that it was that was fast. In fact, sometimes when we, just to the Rebbe's point, sometimes when we had the broadcasts, and we had the video and we had the audio with it, but if some place the audio didn't work, for some reason they'd call in, for the Chabad house we had Chabad house that had viewings too, so they would call up and get the audio feed from New York or whatever, and they would always complain that the video was always ahead of the audio, so it was
Schnell.
It was faster. So that was Rebbe's. So then,
Yeah. Okay.
The next day we rode in. This is Yud Zayin. We rode in, and I write my zettel, and the minute then was, again, the boy and the girl, each one writes the possible future chassan or future kala, write the zettel, and they bring it to Mazkir, and they put like a clip on it, and they write on it shidduch outside, was the Rebbe used to give faster attention if it involved the shidduch, the Rebbe would respond quickly so it doesn't get lost with everything else and make a young couple wait and so on. So we put it in, there was a place in the Mazkir's office they used to call the Winkel. It was like a letter tray. You ever say it's still there, the letter tray. And you put it, any mail that came for that went into that tray. Anyone that brought it settled, you can put it into that tray. And anything that went in there, for the most part, wasn't touched. Everything that was in there, everything that went into the Rebbe. So it had this clip on it said shidduch. That night was a night of Yechidus. The zettel went into the Rebbe. The Rebbe reads the zettel, and it seems at the time I didn't tell me what she wrote. I didn't see what she wrote, but it seemed like she wrote that we had met, and I think she likes what she sees, and that she wants to do what the Rebbe wants her to do. Like she did, he said, al das. She wants to know. No, she wants to do what the Rebbe wants. She wants to do what the Rebbe wants her to do. Something to that effect. So the Rebbe reads it settle and says, actually the Mazkir then was Miyam Klein, and he says that it says in Isha Nesas El Medaita.
She has to want.
She has to want. Yeah, like call her up and find out if she wants. Well, it doesn't work on the Rebbe's das, so be on her. Does she want it? Doesn't want it. So Rebbe Klein tracks it down and says, "Do you want?" And she said, "Yeah, I want, yeah." Oh, so the Rebbe said that whatever she answers, write it on the envelope and put it under the door. Because it was before Yechidus, and before Yechidus, the Rebbe used to close the door and used to double lock the door, whatever, no one came in, sometimes it would be 45 minutes, an hour, whatever it was. But he wanted to respond before Yechidus, not leave it for after Yechidus, because he probably understood it, could be anxious or whatever. So put it on the door, and then when he opens the door before Yechidus, to start Yechidus, he'll have it right away, he'll have it settled. Anyway, that's what happened. She said she wants. Yom wrote on there that she wants. And then we got an answer, before Yechidus, then Teva Shidduch, Yibashot, Teva Mitzlachas, and so on. But the point is of the story that the Rebbe said it was like a satellite, so that we forever got connected to the satellite. Yeah.
So back to this answer, the Rebbe didn't say anything about chinuch in here. I didn't say anything about chinuch. So afterwards you did the satellites, but that wasn't your only thing that you were doing because the Rebbe told you not to.
No, it was the only thing we were doing.
So so the Rebbe said it's not a parnasa, but you have to deal with it.
There's no parnasa, we're dealing with it. And what else was supposed to do? Yeah.
So
that the parnasa is another ended up being another parsha that was within this time overall period was later on, but a few times I was concerned about parnasa and so on. But
That was concerned for you.
He brought it up, yeah, but that was separately.
But you weren't doing anything else then.
Primarily, I was doing the Fabreing, so it was really, I wouldn't say full time, because there were times that 2 months before was less. As he got closer to the date, it became a lot more involved.
Right. Okay, so maybe. Okay, can I take?
Yeah, take a look.
Okay, so I'm gonna take the binder. Before we started recording, we went through it a little bit, so I don't know if we're gonna get through everything. These are all original Kisvei Yad of the Rebbe, most of them. Okay, so
it's not in any major particular order.
Yeah. So I'm just looking through it. These are copies.
And first, the one non-binder.
The one non-binder are copies. Yeah. Bracha for buying your house.
Yeah, it was interesting there.
You wrote to the Rebbe that this is Tafshim Mem Gimel, that in Medea, that we bought the house on 585 Montgomery Street in Crown Heights.
We're having a closing, yeah.
We're going to move there before Pesach, asking the Rebbe's Bracha V'Gashas of Beruchnis, in your name and your wife's name. The Rebbe wrote Ksav Yad, Yehei B'Shat Teva Mitzlachas B'Kail Mitzur B'Zeh
$1. Ma'keren.
L'Hashka.
Yeah.
L'Hatzlacha. Karen Kvekdush as Mech Admer, $1. So Rebbe saying that I'm giving you $50 from the fund of the Friedrich Rebbe
to participate in the buying
as an investment
in buying the house.
In the house. So here's the Ksav Yad, the copy, and the copy of the $50 bill. So they'll give you an investment in your house on Montgomery Street.
Yeah. So I have a big debate with my wife about that. She's like, still doesn't forget. So why did you deposit the $50? I said, from the answer, it was very clear. You have to have a salashka. You have to deposit. I mean, that's from the Keren. That's what the bracha is. So she's like, could have exchanged it. So I have a bunch of answers where the Rebbe gives us dollars and it says lahachlif. You can change it.
Right.
This one the Rebbe didn't say lahachlif, and he said lashka. So
you have a copy of it.
Yeah.
Okay. There's nothing.
That's a little chopped up, I see, but
there's nothing from the Rebbe on this. But this is.
No, there are other ones. Yeah,
this is like a schematic,
exactly.
A diagram of schematic. It's called of the Hanukkah Live of the 12 satellites. So you gave this.
That's only part of it. Yeah, that's not a good copy. Yeah.
Right, you gave it into the Rebbe.
Right. By the way, the Rebbe said to make a book of Hanukkah Live. Did you ever see the book?
Yeah, beautiful book. Yeah. And they have a much nicer schematic in the book.
This was the actual schematic. That one was just.
It's an artist. Yeah. Okay, so this is an answer that the Rebbe wrote. He wrote that tonight from 8 o'clock there's going to be a satellite on cable television in the whole United States, including New York, parts of the Fabringen of Yubis Tammuz, with a preface of explanation about Lubavitch. So that's another thing that you started doing, is having like a small program, a pre-program before the
9 o'clock, yeah.
And the Rebbe is answering, Ksav Yad, this is a copy. Have a Peil Mamish, question mark. What's the Peil Mamish?
Exactly. So I must tell you the answers on the Fabreing, the amount of Habe Peil Mamish I have, tens. Every single Fabreing that want to know the Peil Mamish.
So what did you take that to mean?
Some things I didn't always understand. Why? First of all, it was a duch. I meant a duch. So, also interesting. So I would write him before the Fabrengen that should be Batzlacha. So I'd get out an answer either right away or whatever, but always said something Pel Mamish. After the Fabrengen, the Rebbe went home. In the car, this is half hour after the Fabrengen, whatever, he'd always tell my father, Gib the Zun, always.
The Rebbe wanted to tell your father, tell you to write a duch.
Tell my father, tell me to write it. Was waiting for a duch. And with time, it got harder and harder to make the duch, because a lot of it was involved how the shiddur was and so on, how many stations. But it was to get reports back was not always so easy from people. I mean, I only tried to understand. I only figured that everyone wants to know. He spent hours talking what was the Peil Mamish, and if it was an actual question would need an actual answer, but or was a bit rhetorical. But the Rebbe definitely wanted reports. And if I gave a report and I said, this is the Bekitza, the Rebbe said, please give me...
Oh, yeah, so that's one of the ones you have. So I have a question. So this one is a copy also, but it's a lot of answers from the Rebbe in this letter, and it's also connected to names of people that called.
Right.
So maybe look at it and tell me, what's this whole thing with the list of the people that are calling? Like, what's
no,
happening?
this list. Hold on a second. Oh, maybe yeah. Yes. Yeah. So it's interesting. What happened was, since I wanted a duch, and I think that's what prompted us to really put telephones in. We started off with 10 telephones in one of the rooms upstairs, second floor, next to my father's office. Then we expanded it to 20 phones. And I figured the best thing to get Pel Mamish, let's get people's feedback. It was a two-way thing. We get people, so at least we put them on a mailing list. We'll send them information on Mifsaim or whatever it is, different material that we sent information on the Rebbe. A lot of people watching, they had no idea what they were watching, they didn't know who the Rebbe was, and so on. And I felt this was, part of the Hafatz of Mayonis, was getting a Hafatz just to get that information to the people. And how do we get to people is if they called in.
So this is your response to the Rebbe's writing Hava Pel Mamish.
Right. So the Rebbe wanted Pel Mamish. Then also I figured we had the list of names. I figured, okay, this is,
material to work with.
Yeah, give us something to work with, exactly. So we put it up, we got a phone number, I think it was 718-604-1000. It was incredible. Every time we put it up, all 20 phones rang within seconds, within a half a minute. You put it up, all the phone lines, and we had 20 people saying, answering the phones. And people called from all over the country. So I'm fascinated. What is this? What am I watching? Who is this? What is it about? I love it. This and and also once the people on the mailing list, we'd give them information when the next Farbrengen was. So it was, but to me it was more a way of collecting information and feedback. And we had papers they'd write down what the comments of people were and so on. So to me, if I had to write a duch afterwards, a Pel Mamish,
send in Pasha. This is a list.
This was my way.
So what's that answer? What's the answer? What's the Rebbe writing here?
Okay, so the first thing is I don't. If anyone can see it. The first thing I wrote that Meshech his father's telephone Aleino Yesel Mishva Yisrael Noshim, which was a typo, which was a bad typo, and I put a question mark. It was a typo.
Shvaisre.
I wrote, Mishva Yisrael, which was 17, but we had handed the Rebbe a list of a lot more names, a few hundred names, and I noticed later that the Rebbe even put an asterisk there to show that.
That's the original.
Yeah, it's original. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
You wrote Shvasre, but there's a lot more over here. But that's how that was very particular. Then I wrote Mitzuber V'zar Shima Chelkes Ma mit Talfanim. This was because we
partial list.
It's a partial list because we used to do by hand, write down on 8.5 by 11s and list. So someone had to take all the lists and put it onto paper. But everyone wanted to have a doch right away. So yeah, and we got then a computer, which was a big chiddush back then. It was just PC or whatever. So there it says Mechaka Shlama. It's waiting for the full list. Then they wrote Risi V'tach, that he saw the list of people and to return it. Then number 5 with. Then thank you for the duch. But then and also very yes, this is from time to time. Asker al etzin lepulim shechas.
Continued pula.
Continued pula, and I think that pulim shechas is still going on. Not I think I know it's still going on, but it's interesting. It's not on this list. That sometimes everybody marked up the list if you saw names that.
Yes, I have that.
Oh, you have it, which
so
is
basically
still interesting.
This list is something that you gave into the Rebbe. The Rebbe. I'm going to put it down.
Yeah, so I was saying before that.
The Rebbe wrote, this is the Rebbe's Ksav, yeah?
Yeah.
The Rebbe wrote L'Hachzer. He wrote this is the Shim of the names of the people that called and where they're from. And this Shidur, this satellite, went to a lot of small towns. The Rebbe wrote L'Hachzer. So this is already made by a computer. So it's a fancier list. And it has the name of San Antonio, Fairfax,
Madison, Milwaukee, Charlotte.
So and we used to put the phone number on there.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just like, we had no sales pitch. There was nothing and then people would sit on the phone and talk with those that were answering the phone for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and something longer. So we'd wait for the phone lines to clear up, and then we'd do it again. But we would have over 1,000 phone calls, and it's not like something we pushed the whole time. We didn't keep putting up the phone number. Put up the phone number now. Okay, we put up the phone number. So it was very randomly, as we weren't consistent putting out the phone numbers, and we still got 1,000 calls on an evening, which, those numbers, you have to think how many people were watching. Not everybody
calls.
Not everybody calls. I don't know if 1 in 1,000 people call. Who picks up a phone call, to talk.
Right, and this one you were referring to, so here's a list. It's from Chav Kislev, Tavshem Mem Hey. So Rebbe writes, Neskabel, Ksav Yad Kedesh, Neskabel V'tach, Davar Be'ite, if I'm pronouncing it right, and the Rebbe circled Chav Kislev, made an arrow. That's a auspicious time. Because Chav Kislev V'chulu.
Yeah. I think they wrote this Mangram of an Indian grammar, no?
Not on this one.
Oh, not, I'm sorry.
And then the Rebbe, so here's the Rebbe's Ksav Yad. And then the Rebbe circled, an interesting viewer, Reverend Jesse Jackson. So the Rebbe circled that he viewed it. Yeah. So here's another one from early. Is a copy. This is from Tavshem Mem Aleph. So right in the beginning, again the Rebbe writes Habapel Mamish, Habapum, and the Rebbe writes Benoit Shel Harav Reb Yehuda Krinsky. So it's to you, basically. The Rebbe saying it's to you.
Yeah.
Another one from Tavshem Mem Zayin about the Fabringen Yud Tesach Chav Kislev Tavshem Mem Zayin. He wrote that everything was kshura, everything was good. They would ask about Tzin, Kin Yivaser Tev Tamid Kol HaYamim. I'll mention at the oil. And you should have this share Psudas Tevis all of the days. They wrote Shas Haschala ? You didn't write in your small duch what time it started.
Yeah.
And there's another one, the longer duch. They wrote there's a lot of problems, technical problems, getting the right time for the satellite. It was 13 satellites and 40 feeds.
That's Hanukkah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
They work day and night, and till the time of the actual broadcast, there were Jews and non-Jews, lahavdil, and they were so nispal and isragish from the whole fact that if they saw this broadcast, and the heads of the CNN in Atlanta, which is their headquarters, called to tell them that the broadcast was amazing, alavai, that they would have such hatzlacha, and afterwards, the head.
I think what happened there, we couldn't find the satellite. Then we called CNN and asked if we can get time on the satellite, and they gave us time. I think that's what it was.
Right. So you said that the Eirach Rashi. So I don't know what the English, the head CEO. I don't know. Whatever.
No, I don't know if it was that or maybe the head technician. I think
head technician called to give a mazel tov on the broadcast, and he wanted to be mentioned by the Rebbe Shlita, and we'll get the names in a few days. And he wrote, during the broadcast, the connection between 770 and the Kremlin was in a very good line. It was like an intercom. Okay, we got telephone calls from many shluchim in the whole world. Everyone said how much of a hatzlacha it was and the effect that it had in their place and other people. And new people connected them because of this. And you kind of encountered it. And you wrote your name, Rabbi Dovid Krinsky. Skabel v'tach, Yehi Ratzin, she's asik, bepirsum, behatzlacha.
No, pirsum hatzlacha?
I think that's what it says. Yeah, you should do this or be misasik.
Yeah, but
Bepirsum hatzlacha, v'ikir b'hanigeya lahafatzas hayadus v'chula. The main thing is that you should be active in spreading Yiddishkeit.
Actually, that person that you're referring to there from CNN is still in contact with Chabad.
What's this one?
This is a question of when the Yud Aleph Nisan Fabring will be. Yud Aleph Nisan was on Yom Shishi on Friday, Erev Shabbos. So the answers, I'm going to ask you, Im B'Shana Zuti, as far as B'Yom Aleph, B'Yom Aleph, and that B'Yom Aleph, Erev Shabbat, B'Yom Aleph. Oh, it would be B'Yom Aleph, Oy Shabbos Kodesh HaGadol. I'm sorry, Shabbos HaGadol. Shabbos Kodesh of Shabbos HaGadol. I'm sorry, I asked it. As far as B'Yom Aleph, or it's going to be on Shabbos. The Rabban said, Bli Neder, it'll be on Shabbos Kodesh HaGadol, Bli Neder.
Okay, here's another aduch from Idal Finissen, Tavshem Hey, they're about Neskabel, V'tach, V'hiratzin, Shetei Pulin Emsheches, V'chulu. It's similar to what you said before, that it should be a continuous Pu'ula, L'hachzer HaMetzurav V'zeh. That's this one, copy also.
Oh, the originals are there too.
Yeah, the originals have, and then here's another one of Haba Peil Mamish. Everyone's saying, what's the Peil Mamish?
Every single Fabrengen was, what was the Peil Mamish?
Okay. This is a partial listing of cable stations.
All right.
Is there anything? Is this is not the Rebbe's Ksav?
No.
So this is a list.
Was again partial list of
Okay.
where we're going to be seen.
Okay. And then here's an original. You're asking the Rebbe, Hey Ir Tafshan Nun. Many people are asking, and I'm asking if we should make a live satellite of the Sikha of the Rebbe by the Lag BaOmer parade. It's like we did twice when Lag BaOmer was on Sunday,
Correct.
when there was a parade. And the Rebbe wrote, Ksaviyat Kodesh, Kumesha Asu Ba'avar, you should do like you did in the
Right.
past. It's Kumesha
Right.
Asu Ba'avar. I'm showing it to the camera. Another one. This is a letter that you're writing. It's not to the Rebbe, but you gave it to the Rebbe, obviously. You might remember that we met during one of our recent telecasts of a public address.
That was a cable television. So at one point in time, I decided I'll send the Rebbe the material we sent. You know what? Because we went together with this list of cable companies.
Uh-huh.
So I added the list, the letter that maybe it came up, maybe the Rebbe asked, I don't know. So we submitted this letter that we addressed to the cable companies, along with the flyer with the information of the satellite and so on.
No, this is not.
Yeah.
No.
The other one's a
This
flyer.
is about Purim. We are taking the liberty of sending you the enclosed brochure about the
I'm sorry.
upcoming festival
I'm sorry.
of Purim.
Correct. I'm not
This
saying
was
go-
prepared in
Yes.
response to the Rebbe's call that every Jew,
Yes,
man,
correct.
woman, and child actively participate in the
I'm
observance.
sorry. Yeah.
So basically, you're taking literally what the Rebbe says, that this should be used by Fatzah
Yes,
Mayanis.
correct. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't.
And the
I thought it was
Skabel
another
V'tach.
letter.
The Rebbe
Yeah,
wrote on
yeah.
this letter
Yeah,
they
yeah.
wrote in the Gem
Yeah.
stationery. Okay, this is we showed it before. Here's a Ksav Yad that the Rebbe wrote. Rebbe Dovid Krinsky on a
I
duch.
tore off. Yeah. What does that say? I can't see. What does it say in the top line?
That's all it says.
No. What is it? What is that? What's
It's a
typewritten?
Yud
A
Gimel
duch.
Nisan Tafshem Amdal a duch.
A duch. Okay.
So the Rebbe ripped this off
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
and sent it like this.
Yeah. I
So-
wouldn't touch it, but yeah.
So the Rebbe just letting you know that
You read it. Yeah.
and he's writing your name. Harav David Sheikh. What's
No,
this?
Hill. It's not Harav. It's Reb. I guess it's
It's a
Reb.
hey.
Hey.
Reb.
Hillel David. Hillel David.
Oh,
Krinsky.
Hillel David. No, Reb Hillel David Krinsky.
Yeah.
Reb Hillel David Sheikh Krinsky. There's background here.
Yeah. So it was. This was El Tovshem Mem Zayin, and we were asking the Rebbe about the Vav Tishrei. And what happened was, I probably wasn't so smart, but sometime in El, it was always hard to get funding for the Shidurim. It was very difficult. Like I said,
You fundraised.
We fundraised, yeah. That's what took a lot of time to fundraise to get it. It didn't cost necessarily that much money in dollars, even though it was maybe $40,000, $50,000, maybe less, even $30,000, which was money back then, but it wasn't like crazy amount of money. But people just didn't appreciate it, didn't understand it. You wouldn't believe it. But to their credit, the Al-Qayyums from Miami appreciated it, and for a long time they supported it. Till a certain point, it was difficult for them, and they stopped. So we didn't have anyone immediately to pick up from where they left off. So we were behind. Maybe we didn't get someone for Fabrengen, and then we had various sponsors, but a lot of sponsors were not that $1,000, $2,000, things like that. So I wrote to Rebbe that have a deficit of whatever the amount was. I don't remember from last Farbrengen. And plus we need to find a sponsor for the upcoming Farbrengen. So it's not here. Maybe it's there somewhere. But I wrote after, I don't know. I wrote if there's no money, don't do it. Basically.
I didn't see that here. Okay.
Yes, I have it. Something to that effect. I never really understood the answer. In a way, I took it as if they don't appreciate. I don't know if take it to myself or whatever. But if it's not appreciated and there's no money for it, then don't do it.
Or maybe the Rebbe is saying to you, like,
okay, either way,
if you can't pay for it, I'm not going to tell you to do it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we just asked. You weren't asking whether they should do it or not. It never posed that question to the Rebbe. Should we do it? We don't have money. Should we do it? Shouldn't we do it? It was just the Rebbe said. The Rebbe didn't like the fact that there was money lacking for the project.
So what was this one?
So I then told the Rebbe that. Okay. So we wrote to Rebbe. We already started like working above Tisha in places like in Argentina and other different countries. Started making arrangements and publicizing and so on. And then I wrote at the end, Be'ezus Hashem Yisborach, Yedai Momen Lezeh.
There will be money.
There will be money.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't say where it was coming from or that I had in my pocket, but Rebbe answers, Bosser de Avden Mismalchen, question mark, exclamation point. That if you first you're doing, then you're letting me. First you're doing, then you're letting me know. So Lashon from the Gemara, I think, is in Baba Basra. Then Chol Eifen dash Yehei b'Shot Teva Mitzlachas v'Chulo.
So basically, what's the story here? But it should be
what?
Like,
because I didn't.
But the Rebbe gave the bracha for it.
He definitely gave the go ahead. But he didn't want to hear any problems of funding it, I guess. That's what the takeaway is.
Right. Okay, so this is an envelope with the gem envelope.
Yeah. It has
No, you wrote to the Rebbe. Kvei Kedushas Adam Shlita Hillel Dovid Krinsky. Are you showing the Rebbe the envelope? No, it was a letter. It was a letter. No, it was a letter in the envelope. Obviously.
I just kept it for my own files, not sure doing it for my own.
Tuch.
Niskabel problem.
Kabel v'tach, I think. Dvar be'itei, chulu.
It's interesting. I remember I saw a photograph a year or two ago of someone I was walking out from 770 going home, and has one of our big gem envelopes.
A big one, like a manila.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, here's another one. You just wrote there's an Adam Shlita, and the Rebbe wrote Mahir, and then quick. Mahir means it's urgent, and Ches, Chashai, it's
quiet,
top secret.
Yes, yeah.
You don't know what it is though.
Is there something in there? I don't remember.
Let me see. There's nothing in here now. Okay. Here's the original of the one that the Rebbe said to me. Asking Afatzas Hamayanas. This is the originals here. Here's an interesting one that you wrote about that the satellite is going to be in Yud Alf Nissen, and the Rebbe wrote V'hiratzin. He wrote that it's going to happen. Chesnes and Membeis. V'hiratzin she'kol anal b'atzlacha v'sheyifel b'pnimius v'chulu. That everything should be b'atzlacha and it should affect b'pnimius.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. The Rebbe wants it to affect b'pnimius. I don't think we're going to do everything, but this is important. So he wrote that Chafei Shvat Tavshem Mem Gimel. My father Sheikh spoke with Mr. Yosef Papp, and Mr. Papp said that every Monday his theater, which is called the Public Theater in Manhattan, is empty, and he can use it without no payments. So we have an idea to use it to do something like a Chabad concert, and with a Su'udah, meal, the day before Yid Alf Nissen, Zayin Nissen, and 300 people could sit there, and we can sell the entrance fee, $200 each person, and it'll actually be a benefit, like a dinner for the satellites. Mr. Papp agrees, and he's going to help as much as he can, and he'll be the producer. And you wrote that Hineni Shayel Im Lases Canal. So that wrote, first of all, an arrow when you wrote Hineni Shayel, and the Rebbe wrote Im Reitze Lases Canal, if you want to do this. Bekesher Yud Aleph Nissen, the Rebbe writes, well, Kesher Yud Aleph Nissen, loy. If you want to do this with Aleph Nissen, no. Ki kapashat, underlined twice. Ein lechabad esek b'theater. Chabad has no business in a theater. V'chein le b'persemis anashim, not to publicize people. Mi sheyiyeh, underlined twice.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that means.
Who the Rebbe is referring
Who
to?
the Rebbe is referring to publicizing people. Ki im, we're not here to publicize people. Ki im b'hafatzas hayadus v'ateilah mitzvahs. We're here just to spread Yiddishkeit and Teirah mitzvahs. And I'm showing it to the camera.
So just some background is Joseph Papp, and when you see the Rose wrote on their Moriach, I'll show you on the back of it. You look behind there.
Oh, yeah, the Rebbe wrote again, Mahir,
I'll show you.
this is urgent, and then Ches, that it's secret.
Yeah.
The Rebbe is
This
very
Joseph-
clearly, like, very...
It's interesting, that whole answer, which again, one of the things I've never really understood, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But Joseph Papp was one of the people that called in after the Farbrengen, and actually, I remember distinctly when he called, his office called the office, and there was a ale that day, and I answered the phone in the office, and it was his secretary calling, do you know Mr. Papp? I said, no, the name sounded a little familiar, maybe I heard it on the advertising on the radio, I don't know, you know him? I said, no, I don't. Okay, we'll send you his whole bio. But he watched it last night, he's very, very interested, he's very fascinated by this, and he's going to, and you know, he would like to get more information from you. I remember if I was in the ale, he came back from the house and he calls. I said, this office called from Papp Shakespeare. He knew right away who it was. And we opened up a kesher with him. And he came to the Farbrengens. Like I said, he was like a big theater producer, movie. I don't know what he did, producers and things like that. I remember with him, Shlomo Kunin, to help him for Shlomo's telethon with names and so on. And then he came and he sat by the pictures of him sitting by the Farbrengen. We have him on video sitting by the Farbrengen. He sat even on. And he loved it. Then we had him sitting with Manitz when he did the translation. He wasn't translating, obviously. He was just giving his commentary and so on. In fact, and I'll tell you in a second what he said. Then before the Farbrengen as well, there was an introduction. He did one of them, the half hours, because he discussed how his pilots from the Rebbe. And during one of the Farbrengens, he says, I can see, he says, his commentary was, I see the crowd is getting more and more tired. But the Rebbe is getting more and more stronger. Remember, it was his, more energized. The Rebbe is getting more energized. Everyone's getting tired, the Rebbe is getting more energized. So he was very receptive.
You had the head.
Yeah, he got it. So he wanted to help. He meant it, and it turns out, by the way, Tzivit Hashem used him for years later. All their dinners, they used him. Joseph Papp, he did the dinners. I think he did it maybe in the museum or whatever, but his name was on there for ages, and then other people he brought too. But one thing interesting, at one point, after he was by Farbrengen and so on, he's sitting there and he loved the Nigunim. He loved the Nigunim. So he comes, he tells us, I have an idea. I want to rent Radio City Music Hall in Manhattan, which is basically a big theater. And I want to have the prayers for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. I will sell tickets. I don't remember how many thousands of people can go in there. And it would be also like even Joseph Papp presents Chabad, Rosh Hashanah with Chabad, or Yom Kippur with Chabad. And he says, I know the Rockefellers, I know the people to call, I'll call them up, and we'll make sure. Anyway, he calls them up, he has his people there call them up, because it's in Rockefeller Center, and they owned it, obviously they control it. And the first days were taken, they had some more shows or whatever. Anyway, a little while later, he calls back and said, so what we did was, I asked the Rebbe if we should, he said, this was the proposal, should we do it? And we assumed this is like a far off, what do you call it? The Rebbe says, yeah, we should do it, assign you to do it. So we start working on it. We started I think probably months before the summer. And they even take a label Baumgarten there to try out. We go there when the theater is empty. And we stand in the middle there where we figure we put the bima and where the chazan's going to stand and all that. And he tries it out. And of course, this is, very good acoustics there in the theater and so on. and they're working them. He had to get Mazkir for Rosh Hashanah and Kippur to start printing, making sure we have enough. And anyway, they call the Rockefellers and they work it out to give us the dates. And they said, okay, they'll give it to us as cost, whatever it costs us to get the tickets, the cost of the tickets that we lose. Came out, those for the 3 days, maybe it was 4 days because you had the night of Yom Kippur, and I remember we had Rosh Hashanah 2 in there, I remember, was $250,000. We'll give it to you at our cost. At the time, again, $250,000 was a lot of money, no question about that. But then he said, they'll sell the tickets and raise the money and so on. And I wrote to Rebbe a letter about that we have it all worked out. The only thing is, it can cost $250,000. And Rebbe was like, so $250,000. He wrote, Teire chos al mamenim sheYisrael.
That was it.
Don't do it because Teire chos al mamenim sheYisrael. But my point was, here the Rebbe said, Chabad shaykh l'tiyata, and here, this is what using in one way. This is b'keshet to Rebbe, but use it for tefillas and for Rosh Hashanah and Kippur. That the Rebbe didn't seem like they had a problem with that.
But also it was about when was it? Rosh Hashanah? Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just telling you the story how it.
I don't know the Ein Lana Asik. I don't know.
Absolutely not. I agree with you.
Or maybe we do. Just can't say definitively.
No, you can't figure it out. Mishlei Brotchan used to say, he went into the Rebbe, whatever he said, and he said, I forgot how he said in Yiddish, he said, he thought he had it figured out. He had it figured out, and it's from his glitch from the hand.
The Rebbe changed course.
Yeah, the Rebbe style. He thought he had it figured out, and then slipped out of him.
And this is something you mentioned. This is Zeis Chanukah and Aleph, so it's about the Chanukah Live that's happening, a long duch. And the Rebbe wrote Niskabel V'tach on the side. Then he wrote Hanal Bekitzer. This is Bekitzer. Behemshech, the Mashenimser Mikvar, continuation to what I already wrote. Bekitzer. The Rebbe wrote Ubetach Yavei Gam Bepratius.
Hamasima, I think.
What was it? Hamasima. Yeah. So you wrote Bekitzer, so for sure later you'll write with the proper.
And the Rebbe told that whole side of the pages. I guess I've used the paper, but
the Rebbe would rip the pages and would write margins. On it margins to write different things.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know what? It's not so easy to rip a paper like that. I couldn't do that.
Right. Exactly.
It's exactly
it's not much on the words.
Alongside the words.
So here's another one. Here, you can read it, maybe.
Oh, yeah. This was, I guess we wrote Bekeshet to Lag Beimer, upcoming, this is dated Tezayin here, Lag Beimer is Chaya. So I wrote Hegia Belag Beimer, Vizkarti Oz Alatzien, and now that I was asking, Abapel Mamish.
So I got it, and I mentioned Tzin. Now I was asking. Okay. And then here's a duch.
What happened with the broadcast of Lag Beimer?
There's a duch about Mivtza Chanukah, and Moscow, the Moshe Chaim Levin, who was
he was there at
one
the
of the
time.
shluchim there at the time, and some other things from other people. And you wrote
again, which one of the things we had to do is after if anyone was working on somewhere with the shiddur, we say, please send us a report. Please send a report. We have to give the report. Please send a report.
So you wrote Ducha Mivtza Chanukah Hayitei Shnas Arden Neflois. The Rebbe wrote Iskamba V'tach V'yikuyim B'payil.
Arden Neflois.
The Rebbe wrote an arrow to write Arden Neflois, so it should actually be Mikuyim Arden Neflois. All right, so it's amazing the attention that the Rebbe. It's also a little bit of a window into what it means. That obviously, when you do something mamish, it's not a Chabad house. This is mamish in the Rebbe's Dal Damas. It's the Rebbe himself. How the Rebbe is meticulous about every detail, and you already said it, but besides the effect that it had then, and I know there are stories, we didn't even get to it, there are stories of people that watched the Febringens, and that was their first step to Yiddishkeit. Many such stories.
Yes, true.
People...
we know such people,
Yeah. And, and especially for us, Chassidim today, videos is such an important, vital thing, and for the world. The Rebbe's message is going out to the world today through video, like it was then, a different format via the internet. So Asher Chelkacha v'Geilas Chusla, and thank you very much for this conversation.
Thank you for having me.